What is going on, you guys? It is Dollar Cost Crypto here with Bitcoin to a million dojaroos. $1 million, son. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's not. I am joined today by the lovely, the mystical, the magical, the Chase. What's up, bro?
Yeah, what's going on, brother?
He's my Jamie for the day. Jamie.
Shout out.
But no, this is going to be a really interesting stream because, this is not even clickbait. Like, I truly believe in my heart of hearts, Bitcoin will be at $1 million in 30 days. No. That Bitcoin will, we will within a decade have $1 million Bitcoin. That is that is actually a reasonable amount of time to actually believe that to happen. And you have to understand what that will do to the crypto space and where will it be at. It's possible Bitcoin might not even be the most valuable cryptocurrency anymore. It might be the second or third. That's as far as so far my soothsayer powers are telling me right now. But just because Bitcoin won't be in first place anymore does not mean that, it's the end of the freaking world, right? But you also have to understand with Bitcoin being worth that much, you have to extrapolate the top projects in DeFi and crypto are worth a lot of money, man. So definitely, man. This is a special message brought to you by Charlie and Miguel from Dollar Cost Crypto and Cultivate Crypto. For the love of God, if you guys are in chat right now, please check the pinned messages in all the chats, all the Fight Club chats, all the Crypto Mindset chats, all the Citadel chats. We have put a special pinned message in all the Telegram chats, and there is if you make sure you double read it, there is a really good Easter egg airdrop if you participate in something. For the love of God, if you don't hate money, get in. That's all I can tell you right now. Fight Club rules. But Jesus, if you do not get in by today, literally, you guys have less than, I would say, 18 hours to get into it right now. 18 hours. Or you want to be poor. I'm serious. You're missing out. And I've got some heat for you guys as well, man. I'm going to tell you about how we can get into another airdrop on the next stream, brought to you by Cultivate Crypto, Dollar Cost Crypto. But man, I really believe this opportunity that's in the pinned messages on Telegram for the fucking millionth time. All the instructions are there. That is going to put you guys in a really good spot. Now, just ape responsibly 2 years is what I'd recommend, 8 quarters. But man, son, we're like, I think it's a really great opportunity. Sheesh. That's all I got to say, man. But you share the screen. You share the screen, Chase?
Yes, sir.
April 21st, we have Crypto Mindset Q2 finally back to you guys, man. It's incredible, man. I know it's been a long time. Women have been crying in the streets for days and stuff. When, Miguel, when? Well, April 21st, it goes on sale. It will only be on sale for 5 days. So if you want to be the first person in and get that juicy alpha, leave your email address right there, man. CryptoMindsetCourse.com/access. Leave your email address right there. And at midnight, like Cinderella, you'll turn into a pumpkin. You will be able to get into the Crypto Mindset course. And of course, if you're part of the Citadel, you will get a discount. You will get a discount for every recurring month that you've been in the Citadel, as well as if you pay with crypto, you also get 15% off of the crypto. So, I mean, it's very likely that people have been in the Citadel for the last 3 months. I mean, you could, with paying with crypto, you can get $300 off the course. Pretty freaking awesome, man. So definitely get into the Crypto Mindset course. And the courses are more or less going to start May 6th for the first class. So May 6th. We were not crazy enough to start it on Cinco de Mayo. We almost did for a second, and then the Mexican and me remembered, holy crap, there's a lot of drinking going on that day. So we decided to, more than likely, the first day is going to be May 6th. It's going to be an afternoon class, and it's going to start at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So there you go, man. Here's for the Pepe so they remember. Your boy looks good in a suit. God damn, son. Sheesh. Garrett Gensler said, I smell a security. Well, I smell a bitch. Woo, what are you talking about, man? I'm the fucking macro talking. Crypto buying. Wheeling and dealing. Crypto Mexican you've ever seen. And I'll be damn hard pressed to keep these fucking Louis Vuittons down, son. They're spiky, son. Sheesh! I pay in tequila. That's right, baby. But with further ado, we're going to get into our subject for our stream, man. Bitcoin to $1 million, man. And this is not as far-fetched as you think. This is, I mean, let me tell you this. We all, look, love it or hate it. You love or hate the maxis. Without Bitcoin, this whole industry wouldn't be here. And the higher the Bitcoin price, the more freaking money we all have. Whether that's yen. I mean, that's it. I mean, the whole world's taken control by the Japanese. No, I'm joking. Or the RMB, or the central bank digital currency, or whatever that is the currency, or it's probably going to be the digital dollar, DUSD, right? Duh. Or DURS or whatever it's. I'm on one today, you guys. I really am on one and stuff. But with Bitcoin at $1 million, we are talking a damn near an increase on the Bitcoin price of about. This is head math here, so please forgive. About a 40x in price from now, if I'm not off on the price right there. So we are talking about the whole crypto space at minimum being 40, 50, 60 times higher in price for the coins that survive. Not all coins are going to survive, ladies and gentlemen, but we are going to be talking about if you have bags of Ethereum, bags of Hex, bags of Bitcoin, you are doing extremely, extremely well. I would imagine Aave and a couple other projects, some of the maybe Uniswap token. Well, Uniswap token's trash, but some of these tokens that survive and stuff like that, and Pulse Chain and a couple of things. We were talking about a very high price on a lot of these tokens, and I've been in crypto 7 years, and it went by really quick. It really feels like I've been in crypto maybe 3 or 4 years tops, but legitimately I've been in crypto 7 years, and it went by in a snap, right? So Cosmos, I don't know. Well, we'll see, man. Like, I haven't seen much. If I'm being honest, man, I haven't seen much out of Cosmos. though, and I've seen a little bit more from Polkadot, but at the same time, I haven't seen shit from Polkadot either. Let's be for real. I'm Kusama gang we up, man. But it's just it is what it is. Crypto Boogie, tell me what type of drink you are consuming right now. Oh, as a matter of fact, man, shout out to Crypto Boogie. Me and Crypto Boogie will be doing. I am getting your messages, homie. Sorry, it's been busy, very busy. Me and Crypto Boogie are going to be doing a Spanish stream en español, Telemundo. Vamos a hablar en español de todo esto de cryptocurrency, de Bitcoin y Ethereum, and I know I'm butchering it because you basically can't say these crypto names in Spanish because the words don't exist. So it's really strange. Like we're going to be doing this whole Spanish stream, and half of the stream is going to be in English because these crypto words, there's no translation for them in Spanish at all. So voy a mover dinero para acá, and then comprar. Voy a quitar mi dinero de los bancos y voy a comprar un chingo de Ethereum. And then from there, voy a comprar un chingo de esta moneda acá, and then we'll buy Bitcoin. And I mean, that's really, I swear that's how it's going to sound. But with a lot of like swear words in the middle there. But, yeah, man. Your chain is up first. First chain coming up next. Oh yeah, dude, no, for sure. I'll definitely look into it, man. But it's just like we've been waiting for a long time for these layer zeros to finally do something for a long time now. But Bitcoin is still working. It keeps working, and only 180 people watching right now. It's like you guys just don't want me to do the moon math. It's like you just don't want the sauce. You don't want the alpha, man. I'm getting really like I'm very dismayed right now, man. Like, what I want you guys to do is to go onto Twitter and retweet this out and get more people in here. Spread the good word. Spread the good word of dollar cost crypto, Hex Jesus, Dogecoin Muhammad, Litecoin Moses, Father of Gains. Beautiful, man. How do you say poor pleb in Spanish? Pinche esclavo. Fucking slave. Oh my God, I'm gonna get canceled in Spanish. Oh man, Omi Latino is banned in 2 languages, Inglés y Español. But like the video, you guys, we have 180 people watching right now. That is a damn shame because we're about to drop a lot of alpha. I'm going to explain to you how we can get to these kind of crazy prices, as well as do a reaction video to a really important video that Arthur Hayes made about where we're going and how all this inflation is starting to affect the bond market, how the banks are failing, and how we possibly can get hyperinflation. Like, this shit is for real, you guys. Let me tell you this right. Like, soon enough, my soundboard is coming, guys. I will be having a soundboard. But that would have been like, right there, right? That would have been right there on the stream, right? And you will not believe what I got in the mail today. I almost said the bank name. My freaking bank sent me a notice. Yo, Miguel, yo, dog, yo, bro, thank you, most valued customer that's been with us for over a decade, my entire adult life. Yo, just FYI, homie, I don't know if you speak Spanish or not, so we sent you both Spanish and English, FYI, but you better not be fucking withdrawing more than $10,000 in cash, homie. I literally got a warning mail in the mail today from my fucking bank telling me, Miguel, don't withdraw more than $10,000 at a time, homie, because then we're thinking you're doing some bullshit. Can you believe that crap? Me, good old dollar cost crypto, DCC, a man of God, doing some foul shit. Nah. Gambling, sure. Crypto buying, yeah. Lean, mean, green, fighting machine, for sure. But doing some shady shit, nah, man. I pay my taxes. Stupid. You're dumb, bro. Now, Richard Hart recently warned. Let me tell you this right. When Richard says something, bros, pay attention because it's probably very a factual sort of thing, man. Now, Richard basically said, you guys, open some more bank accounts and move money. Now, this is for people who have a lot of money and stuff like that. So I'm sorry for mis putos esclavos, no valen, you got it. But if you guys, obviously you guys you have a business and you have a business account. I would recommend go opening a completely different bank. Like, I'm sorry, you get a Chase account, get a Bank of America account, get a Wells Fargo account or something like that. Open up a couple of bank accounts, major banks. Don't do small community banks. I'm sorry. And, make sure, you have $240,000 under the limit under the FDIC stuff, because I think some crazy shit's about to go down, you guys, with the banks. Please, for the love of God, I know this is a Bitcoin stream, but it has everything to do with Bitcoin. Have some cash in hand. Have cash in hand. Who the hell knows what's going to happen in the next couple of years, man? But we're going to go through some crazy transformative sort of stuff, and I really believe it's all linked to the central bank digital currency. We are having the government rugging small community banks, which don't deserve that, and small banks and community banks. This is really, really messed up, and they're basically centralizing banking. And over time, they're like bros. Like I've had accounts with Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini. I mean, every exchange under the sun, and basically 90% of these exchanges took me down, bros. Like literally, what's going on right now? I think there's something going on in the crypto space. It is very hard to get money into crypto right now. I think the banks are trying to slow us down from getting money into crypto because some major shit's going to happen right now. Like I'm seeing so much smoke in the smears right now. Like I can't I can't get as much money into crypto anymore than I used to anymore. I used to be like I'm not trying to talk shit here, but I used to be able to instantly get like 100,000 into Coinbase within like a day and instantly move it. I've been reduced to like $5,000. I know I'm just wiping my fucking tears with $100 bills. I'm sorry. But but this is a serious thing because the middle class of crypto people and the upper middle class and the all the ranks and shit, the citadels, right? If you're trying to get capital from your fucking disgusting dollars and fiat into beautiful clean Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Hex, we're being throttled right now. We are legitimately being throttled right now, and it's a crock of shit, man. So I decided to put on this fucking very, very beautiful, beautiful suit. And just to show you guys how serious I am about this little issue right now, like literally within a 2-week span, I can't put a lot of money into the space. My bank's warning me about withdrawing cash. I'm just giving you guys the warning. Something's up. They're choke pointing us. Exactly, you guys. There is. Yeah. There is a lot of weird shit going down in bros. Like it is actually kind of terrifying if I'm being honest, you guys. So please keep DCAing. Even if for the small guy, I think you still can. If you're doing under $5,000, you can. Please make sure to have as much as you can in the crypto space and out of the banks. Shit's about to get weird. Having Ethereum, some Bitcoin, some Hex, some USDC, and some Tether. I can't believe I'm saying Tether. I'm sorry. Haram, I know. But these 4 or 5 coins being the main stacks of where you just keep the dry powder at, because there might be a time where we're like, we won't have access to what we ever have in the matrix, in the metaverse, in the crypto space, on Ethereum and on these L1s, you guys. Matt S. Miguel isn't exaggerating. I've been waiting 12 days to get 10K from Coinbase to my MetaMask. Let me tell you this, right? I had a major deposit in my bank. They held this money for 3 fucking weeks. Speed kills. I tried to send a bank wire. They held my bank wire for 5-6 days. Basically what they're doing is they just stole my money for a couple days, just kept it so they could be more solvent. That's what's going on. Now, you never hear the plight of this because this is a plight of the small business owner, the large business owners, and people who have a lot of capital and stuff like that. But this shit is I'm telling you, man, something weird's happening, man. We're beginning to get the rugging when it comes to Fernando Menza, same facts, same issues. I've been trying to get into more Hex. Look at this, look at this crap. Look at this. Coinbase for a long time has been allowing me to instantly transfer 1K into crypto, even call HA to clear my bank. Now I'm waiting for a week to pull hundreds of dollars off a coin. Exactly. So now, I'm at this position, and a lot of you guys were like, I'm having to do like a little here, boom, 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 boom. Watch, go on your Coinbase app right now, and try to do a wire transfer into it. The account number disappeared. This is so fucking weird. They scrubbed the account number so you can't do a direct wire into Coinbase anymore. Look at that. I'll hit a Pepe. Go check your thing. Go check. Mitch Rich, man. I've been using MoonPay because Coinbase takes so long. Damn right. Now, some of these other roundabout ways to get your money in, they're taxing our ass right now. Woo! I'm telling you, man, this is crypto, man. This is crypto Jesus right here, baby. Man, not Bitcoin Jesus, not Hex Jesus, crypto Jesus. Lord of Gains. Book of Gains coming soon, you guys. But I'm telling you guys, we are having a serious problem right now. It's hard to get capital into the crypto space. They're throttling us, means they're like, fuck, this crypto stuff is recovering too quickly. Like, they basically have throttled crypto. I mean, what happened to Signature Bank? Silicon Valley Bank, they kind of half deserved it, but like still, Silicon Valley Bank, First Republic, what these banks were all banks that banked a lot of crypto clients. They weren't. It was the entire bank didn't make all their money off of crypto, but it was a small portion of it. But still, that's a very large of crypto, right? Now the biggest crypto bank in the world now is J.P. Morgan. They've knocked their entire competitors out, instant payment system out with First Republic and Signature Bank, and now. All we have is now, like, Silvergate's gone as well. Like, that was the main crypto bank. That they took that shit out. What do we have left? Chase. Not that Chase.
I was like, what?
Sit down, boy.
I don't know what they have left.
Now, look, you go into Cash App, you can do like maybe $1,000, $2,000. Like, I'm telling you, they're taxing your ass right now. Gemini, I'm calling you guys out, man. I know Gemini is really hurting right now because they were hemorrhaging a lot of cash because they retardedly invested so much money into BlockFi. But me and Charlie have been talking about that secretly for quite a while. But even the Gemini twins at some point in late 21 said, hey, we ain't giving you assholes any more money. We're done. You're cut off, right? So go buy if let's say you wanted to buy, like, I think the maximum amount you can buy, I think you can still buy like 25 grand on Gemini. Just FYI here for you guys. Go buy USDC. They're charging you like I think like for $25,000 they're charging you $400 to buy USDC. Now, if you buy Gemini dollar, right? GUSD, $25,000. They charge you nothing. But then if you swap it on their in-exchange swap into Ethereum or anything else, and then wait the 6 days to withdraw, they're charging you damn near fucking $700, $800. They got us by the balls right now, you guys. Yeah, Karn, look, I cannot believe it. I just refreshed my Coinbase, reduced my bank transfer limit by 66%. Bro, they reduced mine by 95%. They reduced me by 95% on multiple exchanges. Bros, we have to get as much cash as we can into the market right now. Basically, this is why I said spin plates. They have slowed us down, but they have not stopped us. This is why Bitcoin's going to $1 million. This fucking shit right here. This is why. What the fucking right do they have to tell us where I put my money? If I paid my fucking taxes on my money already, it is my money. I can do whatever the fuck I want. If I want to burn it to the motherfucking ground, I can. Black Label Expat. I think Kraken Wire still works. Yes. I think Kraken is the last Mohican. Coinbase doesn't work. Gemini doesn't work. Binance USA hasn't worked for a while. Kraken's the last motherfucking Mohican right here. Though you can still do a $25,000 like direct bank transfer thing like on Gemini still, but the rest of them are in the trash already. It is not your debit card. It is your dirty fiat. That's correct. But remember, Kraken was hurt pretty badly too. So Gemini basically is like, shout out to Gemini. Look. This book, the Bitcoin Billionaires, that book right there that I have, Why Women Deserve Less, shout out. But Bitcoin Billionaires right there. Half that book is about the Gemini twins, the Winklevoss twins, and that asshole from Facebook. The Gemini twins are good peeps. Could they be misguided here and there? Sure. But like, I truly believe these guys are good dudes. And like that hit, if you watch The Social Network, what a fucking retarded hit piece. They're like bros. Go on Audible. If you've never listened to an audiobook in your life, you can literally get the first book for free. Go download Bitcoin Billionaires. Listen to that book. You're gonna be like, wow, Mark Zuckerberg, what a fucking asshole. This guy has essentially made his entire fortune off of stealing off these two guys. And then these guys finally get away from the grasp because these guys, basically Mark Zuckerberg blackballed these guys in Silicon Valley. So they decided to set up shop somewhere completely else in a completely different industry, invested whatever little money that you want to know some bullshit too? I'm spoiling a little bit of the book, but basically they had a settlement because Mark Zuckerberg had to pay the Winklevoss twins money, right? Imagine you win $140 million lawsuit. They're going to get paid $140 million. Pretty cool, right? He lied about the price of the stock. He doubled the price of the stock. So essentially, he owed them another $140 million plus dollars. And basically, the lawyers told him, bros, if you try to sue him for this other money, it's going to take years. Basically, you ain't going to get this money. So at the end of the day, he ended up ripping them off again for another 50 fucking percent. Can you believe that horse shit? This is why Bitcoin to $1 million. Remember something that I always say. All women are trifling. Right? And in a woman's mind, right? Just to bring some red pill into this financial shit. Your money is her money. Her money is her money. That's how they think. Crock of shit, right? Your money is their money, and their money is their money. China Light. I just recently on my Instagram, I had a very viral video that came out. Whoa, my screen just went black. I had a very viral post that I did about central bank digital currencies, and it was shared here. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm not going to play it, but. If I could find it, my God. Right here. So share my screen for 1 second. So this one right here, right? It was watched by 359,000 people. It was shared on people's stories. It was shared 16,000 stories. So 16,000 people shared this story out. And, shout out to you people, man. I ended up getting a lot of subscribers. I got almost 4,000 subscribers from this video alone, man. And shout out to my boy Black Ice as well. We had a couple of these other viral, let me see, had a couple of the Trump NFTs, of course, got 14K, lol. But me and Black Ice did a couple other ones right here. We did 1 million views on this one, another 1.1 million on this one. But this one really hit home for people. Let me tell you why. These central bank digital currencies, we know what this is going to end up being. They are going to start taking our rights away of our money and stuff. If they're afraid, they're going to try really hard to get rid of cash. They're going to onboard a lot of dumb motherfuckers into taking that money there, and eventually they're going to start doing some version of basic income, and they're going to start putting all these stipulations that you can't spend it. So I mean, I'm going to tell you this right now. If you do, because you're it's a sort of game, right, where they're going to give you $1,000, $2,000 per person. Take the money, buy Ethereum, buy Bitcoin, buy Hex, just buy crypto. Fuck it, even buy Dogecoin. Throw these dollars in the trash. They want them, take them. I don't want them. Buy crypto. Even if they tax your ass $200 on it, crypto's so volatile, you'll make that money back. I'm only complaining about the fees just because it is ridiculous. It's highway robbery. But in our industry, right, we can make whatever they steal from us back in a couple weeks or a month or two, right? In equities, they steal, if you do a $25,000 investment into something and then they stole essentially $800 of it, it's going to take you damn near a fucking year to make that money back. This is the warning. Shot across the bow right here. I'm telling you, I think I'm literally one of the many people out here actually saying this right now, and I've given you real numbers. That this is happening to me. Miguel, which is my real name, by the way. This is happening to me. And I'm very highly experienced in the crypto space. I've taught over 12,000 people. I've onboarded 12,000 plus people into crypto, along with Charlie from Cultivate Crypto. And I'm experiencing this. Charlie's experiencing this. The reason you're not hearing it too much on Twitter is because most people in this crypto space, it's usually small. You're starting off, but once you've been in here years and years and years, it's the more years you've been, the smaller of a subsect it is, right? We're just a silent. We're a very very powerful silent minority, right? And we're seeing it first. Let me tell you this right now. This is how long they held my money, bros. I had a direct deposit that was going to come into the bank. I was going to onboard it and then buy Hex with it, just being truthful to you guys. Them holding my fucking money cost me like $800,000. I'm still doing okay, you guys, but I mean the spiky boots and stuff are still spiky, but God damn, dude. These assholes in these banks cost me a fucking Lamborghini Aventador and a Huracan and a down payment on a house. God damn. I'm being serious. Like, seriously, that's how much they cost me. They cost me a fucking Aventador, a Huracan on top of that, or an Aston Martin, and a down payment on a house in Gaines. Speed kills, right? Hit a Pepe on that shit. I'm pissed now. Now, it's not losses, it's opportunity costs. And most people, like, they're like, oh, if I did this, no, literally. I was literally doing that to go do that because I'm a genius of this generation. No, I'm just Kanye West. no. But I'm seriously, like, I like, bros, I make money moves out here. It's okay. I still have the capital and stuff like that, and I'm investing it around and stuff like that. Great opportunities. Check the fucking pin message in the Telegram checks. All my Citadel brothers and sisters, bros. I take these L's so you don't have to. You seen the meme where that soldier's protecting you in your bed? That's me, bros. Protecting you in these streets. All you got to do is listen. And only 135 likes. Shame on y'all. I'm over here pouring my heart out, crying on stream right now. 135 likes. My God, man. I mean, I think Fresh and Fit would, if we were on Fresh and Fit, I think they would just pause the show right now. I don't even think they would be like, no, we're not continuing on with the stream anymore. Like, what's the point?
We can roll the intro again.
Just maybe. I'll think about it, but not. I don't know. We'll see. But Bitcoin to $1 million, you guys. Like, not follow zone. That's the worst. Don't think about losses as much as missed opportunities. No, of course. And look. It's a bull market, you guys. There is plenty of time, dude. My God, man. Like, I'm like, am I pissed about it? Of course. But, It doesn't matter. Like, the money's like, we're here right now. There's literally like, in the next 2 years, we're gonna have so many opportunities to make so much fucking money. There is so much money out here, man. We are gonna make so much fucking cheddar. Bitcoin to $1 million. That's why it's gonna happen. This bullshit. Money goes where it's treated best. Where else is it treated best in crypto? It multiplies. It expands. Nowhere in the world can I send money to anywhere in the world instantly. I could send you $1 million in USDC and Ethereum in 13 fucking seconds. I could send you $10 million on Pulse Chain in fucking 3 seconds when it's open. Bars. Shit, I could send you 100 million in Bitcoin in 10 minutes. But no one can stop it. That's what they're afraid of, is that you can't stop it. That's what's so beautiful about it. Why I'm so passionate about the crypto space is because we are rugging these assholes of control over us. The reason they're rich is because they're the middlemen. We start taking their ability of being the middlemen in between. They can't steal from us anymore. And we give power to the people we believe in. That's why I really believe in projects, what Pulse-Chain's doing, what Ethereum is doing and stuff. Like things like Aave and stuff where you deposit your capital. It's because you've chosen to do so and you're getting compensated for it safely in a DeFi contract. And they're telling me Hex won't go to $2. Shit, man. Bitcoin at 1 million. You think, where the fuck do you think we're gonna be at, man? Shit. Like, man. Hit a Pepe for a second. Let me. Woo! Beautiful, man. All right, share the screen for 1 second. So right now, Bitcoin is at $27,500. I'll just call it $27,500. $27,500. That is to get to $1 million Bitcoin, we're talking about a 36x. 36.36x, right? Where would Ethereum be if I just multiplied it by that many gains? Let's just say they keep up with each other. Let's say nothing changes. Everything just goes to exactly the same. We're at $1,791. That would put, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that would put Ethereum at $65,000 fucking dollars. If you have 5, 10, if you have 10 Ethereum, 20 Ethereum, you got yourself $600,000. 20 Ethereum, you got over $1 million, 1.2 million. But what will that $1 million be worth in 10 years? Shit. Probably, if I had to guesstimate, we probably lost a 4x on the dollar, something like that. So maybe a 3x on the dollar in terms of value in the next 10 years, maybe 2x in value. So that's 35. So basically your Ethereum today, you would protect your capital, right? You would grow it. You'd be richer in dollars, but your purchasing power on that $65,000 on 10 Ethereum would be 30,000 today, but still higher than it was today and still worth more. So you protect yourself, you have more purchasing power than you have, and that's at the end of the day the most important thing. And because Ethereum is got a lot more things going on for its proof of stake model and stuff, it's probably going to be closer to 90 to 100, if we're being honest. Glory be thy bags, for they shall pump. And fear not, my children, because your pain will turn into champagne. Book of Gains. 293 people watching right now. You're all going to make it. You guys are here now, investing now. I'm telling you, like, people think I'm joking. People think I joke around when I say that, like, a lot of you guys are pretty wealthy already if you just held. Seriously, sometimes now, obviously, there's some coins that go away, so we can never take our hand off the wheel completely. Jesus, grab the wheel. I'm holding on, but I need your help, right? But if we're being honest here, if you held your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, and your Hex and stuff and everything, and like just 10 years later, with paying attention, you be in a fucking beautiful spot. You would be in a beautiful spot. I'm telling you. 30x your bags right now. What I want the chat to do right now, right? I did this on another stream, but let me do it again right now. There's about 300 of you guys watching right now. If your bag's 30x'd, what could you buy? Multiply your bag by 30x. It's probably gonna be higher than that. That's just if it just held and stuff. That's not if you took some profits and rebought at the bottom. But let's say if your bag's 30x, what can you buy? Tell me. Oh wait, I'm drinking this beautiful coffee right here. Boogie's turning in his grave, hoping it's fucking McDonald's coffee. But look at these beautiful answers right here, man. I can pay off my student loans and buy a new car. That's beautiful, man. My first house. That's awesome. 30x Lambos. Sheesh. House easy. $1 million beach house in PR. Beautiful, man. A paid off house. A house. You got responsible. Some of you guys are doing Lambos. Responsible. Hopefully not a failed marriage, you guys. But sexless marriage. But let me tell you this right now. I'm going to pull up a tweet real quick. You guys, to show you something. This is shocking. And only us who are entering and are in the capital class of America and the rest of the world, the 1%, the future 1% of 1%, because you guys are already the 1% of the population already. There are some studies that say 20% of Americans are in crypto. Get the fuck out of here. At the peak of the market in 2021, we had 4.5% of the population of the planet in crypto. Legitimately. And and most of them are just holding on exchanges, let's be honest. Obviously, where did all this Voyager, this Celsius, or all this other BlockFi, and that's more advanced stuff, or exchanges go down? How did, 4.5 a couple months ago in December, November, we had 0.5% of the population of the planet in crypto, and we had 10% of the planet actively using crypto. 10% of the world population was using crypto. That's the real power. That's where you guys are. If all 400, 300 of you guys watching right now, you guys are not even the 1%. You guys are the 1% of 1% of 1% of people, because you guys are wheeling and dealing. This is why I'm so. What me and Charlie have done here is really special, because we've been able to scale the unscalable. We want to teach a large amount of swath of people to get into space. We have people going onto Phantom, onto Arbitrum, onto Optimism, and if that sounds fucking, if I'm just saying a bunch of weird words to you right now, I mean, Crypto Mindset Q2 is coming out April 21st. Go woke, go broke. No crypto, you pleb. Shit. Steven Garcia saying, damn, dude, you're gassing me up. It's not even gas, bro. It's ain't unleaded. It's jet fuel, baby. E85 at least. What are we talking about? Sheesh. Now, let me pull this tweet up real quick. I was a pastor in some other life. I really was. It's kind of crazy. Didn't have to cut me off. Anyway, all right. Share the screen. All right. Richard Hartwin, right? On Twitter, right here. Join Twitter if you're not on Twitter. Join Instagram if you're not on Instagram, and go follow everybody. Of course, get to learn it. But houses are the most unaffordable they've ever been in your lifetime, and you want to throw your fucking money into a 401k. My people, Charlie's people, Miguel's people here, who are in the Citadel and the crypto mindset courses on our MOONGANG, are up right now. The rest of the stock market, the average person in a 401k is down bad. Real estate down bad. Crypto winning. Specifically our people winning. Because we didn't abandon thee. Houses are the most unaffordable they've ever been in your lifetime with medium income. Look at that. Now this is coming down right here. Let me expand this out. Housing bubble crash. All of us coming out of high school just dead broke. We weren't able to buy a house. And then it just spiked up, right? Only people in crypto, you guys are going to be able to buy houses, bros. Everyone's going to be a fucking renter for the rest of their goddamn life. We are the capital class. I'm trying my hardest to save as many of you guys as you can. Save your family. But You have to put that mask on yourself first. You got to save yourself first before you can save anyone else. When I meet somebody like today, I was at Starbucks, right? I was at Starbucks. I started talking to this guy about crypto, and he was like, "Bro, I've always wanted to learn, bro," and everything like that. That's what, look, I don't care I don't care if you don't know anything, if you didn't pass high school or anything. It doesn't matter if you did college. There's guys who barely pass high school that understand crypto better than fucking some PhD dudes. We cuck them out. Gains. It's insane, right? What you need is to have a proactive attitude and want to learn. Excitement. I love that gleam in the eyes. Like, bro, I've always wanted to learn about that. What can I watch? That is beautiful. But can you share the screen one more time, please, on the home prices for the median income? Now, the average mortgage payment in America is $2,600. The rule of thumb is 1/3 of your income should be your mortgage payment. So what that basically means is the average median income in America is about $43,000 to $55,000 depending on the states, okay? That means to afford a house today, you have to be earning over $96,000 a year by that rule of thumb. So everyone is overbuying and overpaying. Their house is a proportion of their income is outrageous right now. They're only going to go higher. Like Jerome Powell's going to keep increasing the interest rates for the next couple, 4 or 5 months. We're going to get another couple raises. He's going to stop sometime in the summer. What we've been saying, bros, this isn't new. I'm saying all this stuff right now for you guys to remember it right now. So when it happens, we can react. We can be proactive. We can buy the dips, and we just get wealthier and wealthier. These emotional motherfuckers are just going to drop all their crypto on us, and we're just going to buy the bags and sell it to them at a fucking 30x premium. Chef's kiss. God damn. You're going to be able to multiply your money. Now, I understand. Let's just say you earn the medium income. You earn $55,000 a year. Can you invest all $55,000? No, of course not. Right? But imagine this. 10, 20% of your income, you can. There's disposable income. And if you want it, you can get it. But let's just say only 10%, $5,500. If you invest it correctly in the space, why can't you make a 20x on that? $5,500, let's just round to 6,000 because you're a go-getter, right? 6,000 times 20. You earn $55,000 a year, and then your bag could be worth over $120,000. So you've taken 10, 15% of your income, and you have made more money. You made 2.5 times more money than you make currently. Glory be crypto. The Citadel, baby. Now hit that Pepe. Now, there's a guy saying Bitcoin's going to 1 million in 90 days. Nah. If it does, we're in some big trouble. People think like we're winning, but that's actually pretty bad for the rest of your lives because most of us, But do I believe it's going to happen within a decade? I actually really, truly believe. I mean, at least by 2033, where we'll have $1 million Bitcoin. I had to turn down my sub. Woo! Are you able to do moon math on NFTs? Well, the thing is, if the NFTs are still valuable, what will happen is you actually could get a higher dollar price in the NFT market, but a lower price in ETH. So some of you guys right now trading NFTs are probably trading at all-time highs, possibly. Because unless it commands a lot of attention, there's only so many. Most of these things will start being worth, like, right now they're worth an Ethereum for an NFT. In the top of the bull market, a 10th, 15%, 25% of an Ethereum. So right now, a lot of the NFTs you guys are trading them right now at all-time highs. But dollar-wise, it did incredible. So Ethereum wise, it didn't do some hot. Dollar wise, it did pretty hot. But at the end of the day, you're cashing out into dollars to then when everything crashes back down, you dump those fiat fucking dollars and do that, right? Now, we're about to get into some crazy stuff with the banking sector. I've explained to you what's happened to me, what's happening to. Go read the chats. Go read the live stream chats. There's a lot of people here. I'm telling you, but because it's like, because a lot of times like there's stuff that happens in crypto. You're like, it's probably happened to me. The consensus, there's over 340 people watching right now, and they've all said, yeah, I'm starting to notice the same thing in the last couple of weeks. So we've just figured something out. They're throttling crypto right now because it's been pumping and doing too well. They're scared. It won't last forever. The throttling will last forever. But right now, there's a lot of opportunity going on right now in the space. Get your money into crypto. I don't care if it's in USDC or stablecoins. Just have the ability that it's an RC20 token, something where you can then trade into assets that you like. It doesn't matter if you like XRP or whatever. It doesn't just get into the space because these assholes are like, who knows if they try to cut off these bridges. Rug these central bank digital currencies, man. And if we're forced to use, and like this is the thing, it's a double-edged sword. These central bank digital currencies are going to take so much freedom away from so many people, but they're going to make us so damn rich because so many people are going to learn how to use a cryptocurrency finally and start investing it. I mean, like when they start releasing these checks, these stimmy checks again, if I get a stimmy check, if they give it to everybody, right? It doesn't matter of like how much money you make and stuff, right? I'm dumping that shit right now. You want to know something that's really cool? When the first stimulus check happened, I think it was in 2020. It was $1,200. If you invested that $1,200 into Hex, that $1,200 stimulus check is today worth, I think, $150,000. Let me say that again. I might be a little off it's so much money, I might be off like 20, 30,000 or plus or minus. But that $1,200 stimulus check that you got in 2020, if you had invested it into Hex, which a lot of people did, I did as well, turned into $150,000. Go look it up. It's real. There is literally a Twitter page dedicated to that. My stimulus check is worth this. And they tell you to put it in a 401k. They're just trying to middleman your money so they can earn fees off of it and not even gain. There's nothing wrong with it if you provide a service and you're middleman and you're making money for people. But if you're making such pitiful returns, 7% yearly returns, 12 if we're lucky, and we're at 16 to 24% inflation per year right now. 7%, you're still losing. You're getting poorer. If you're not in crypto, what are you doing? If you're not starting a business, what are you doing? If you're not getting into real estate and really pushing hard, what are you doing with your life? I understand we all have to work jobs. We all have to do stuff we don't like. There's many jobs that I didn't want to do. But I did them because, let me tell you this. I remember there was a time like I felt like I was spinning my freaking wheels. But something that kept me going was like, even when I was at my poorest and like all I could put was $20 into the market by skipping lunch, I was like, this $20 is going to turn into $100 for me in the future. Future Miguel is going to thank me. This $100 bill right here is going to be $1,000. That's what I would tell myself. Because it was hard. There was a time it was really hard to put that money into the market. But I was like, my gut, which is almost never wrong, was telling me, you have to do it, dude. We're spinning our wheels here. You have to do it. And of course, things turned around because I'm an optimistic man. I don't give up on myself. I've always been a self-teacher. I've listened to, I was listening to 8 to 12 hours of YouTube a day on everything. History, crypto, business, sales, everything. And I grew my business to a very large size. And then I moved on to the crypto space and did even better. But it was that belief in myself that I was not going to be a fucking loser. And I don't want that for you guys as well. And I know you guys don't want that for yourselves. All 345 of you guys right now watching right now, you guys are going to make it. It's going to be tough. It's not easy. You might even cry here or there. But I believe in you. Hit it. So no further ado, you guys, we are going to get into reacting into an Arthur Hayes video. He was recently on Bankless and probably had one of the most mic drop interviews of all time. Shout out to the Bankless guys. But great interview, by the way. I think only one of the guys is there and stuff like that, which is, wonder why. Maybe some other stuff. But very great interview. For you guys who don't know, Arthur Hayes, I think either founded or co-founded BitMEX, which was the biggest like leverage trading site for crypto for a long time, and pretty much dominated the space until they got shut down. So yeah, some crazy stuff's going down, you guys. So without further ado, man, share the screen. Actually, let me put that into theater mode. Now, just I leave that so you guys can see the title, but the description, the video is down in the description box below, you guys. But here you go, man.
RNI.FI, and make sure you never lose another.
Yeah, and there's some airdrops going down, so check that pinned message again, guys. I got to tell you again, check the pinned message in all the crypto mindset chats. There, read the whole thing. There's a nice little Easter egg. You guys have probably 16 or 14 hours to get it done. But if you miss it, it's still okay. You still can get into it, but there's something special if you do it. Okay? As well as my next stream, I'm going to talk about a really interesting airdrop that might just happen. Finally, we might actually have some action here. Okay? So my next stream is probably my next stream on Thursday at 8 p.m. is going to be an airdrop stream. Yay, degenerates.
Another airdrop. Arthur Hayes is a man that needs no introduction, but I will introduce him anyways. Arthur co-founded BitMEX in 2014, one of the original leverage trading platforms that dominated the space during the previous bull cycle. BitMEX got in trouble with the powers that be, and now Hayes has moved on to be the chief.
Now we'll say one thing right here. Got in trouble with the powers that be. Yo, this man right here is such a G, bro. He literally was getting shut down, and then he literally posted a picture of him hiking. He's like, "Catch me if you can." He literally ran away and they couldn't find him, and he turned himself in later on and stuff like that. I think he's under house arrest or something like that. But like, this man is like still worth a lot of money and stuff, and he's actually a top holder in a lot of projects and stuff like that. I think he's actually the top single holder outside of a DAO or a fund for like Looks Rare and a couple other projects as well and stuff like that. So this is a very smart man, and at one point this guy basically controlled a lot of the volatility in crypto. Literally, the minute he was out of power, the Bitcoin price started spiking kind of erratically at that point. We started getting much more volatility in the space. So that's how powerful he was at one point. So there you go.
Investment officer of a family office, Maelstrom. But you might know Arthur as perhaps the dominant financial creative writer in crypto. When Arthur Hayes drops an article, it commands the attention of basically everyone in the industry. And not only is this one of those times in which we say, "Babe, wake up, a new Hayes piece just dropped," but it's also one of the most chaotic and critical times in macro and monetary landscape that we've ever seen, at least since 2008. So Arthur is going to hopefully walk us through how he is navigating these stormy waters as a banking crisis seems on the brink of creating a monetary crisis, and what we all need to do about it. Arthur, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers, my man. This is, like I said, stormy times. Creative, and your creative writing, I think, has led people along and help people navigate this path. And I think that is what we want to do here today. And you start off this piece in good fashion with some really interesting literary elements, starting with this line: "When you sit down for a keiseki meal, the destination is known, but the path is not." And that really is the way that you guide us through this article. Can you talk about how this relates to the money printer? Because that's, I think, what you were really referring to.
So they're about to get into like what's going on with the money printing, the bank space, and like he is like later in this interview, he puts into words the cycle of how we are going to inflate the dollar up, as well as every other currency, because every other currency in the world is competing against the dollar. They want to be cheaper than the dollar. So if your dollar if my dollar's $1, they want to be 90 cents because then it's cheaper for them for us to spend dollars in their country and buy their products and services and increase exports and stuff. This is why a lot of countries make a lot of money and stuff like that. And some countries have trade surpluses or at least are making some really decent amount of money and stuff like that. So this is kind of how the system works right now. So if the US dollar starts really getting a lot of inflation, then every other currency is also going to inflate just as hard because they're also stuck in this little drug system that has to do with like bonds and everything with banks and stuff. So we're about to get into some crazy shit, you guys. So definitely pay attention, take some notes, and from time to time I'll be pausing the video explaining some things as well. There's like always, I don't agree with some things they say, but I do agree with most of what they say. But I'll explain why I don't, and you take that with a grain of salt, however you like.
Is a lot of these crypto people, myself included, we've all said eventually the money printer's coming back on. We don't know how, we don't know when, but this is how you start off this article. Can you just unpack this metaphor? Because I think it's going to help us guide us along as we go.
Well, if we've, I think a lot of people in crypto and just financial markets in general have gotten into the habit of studying past cycles to get informed on how the policymakers will react to another disturbance in the banking industry. And if we go back, hundreds of years when central banks were first created, and obviously the most important one today, Federal Reserve, created in 1913, and we look at what they do every time there is a flare-up or some sort of financial risk, we find that they resort to printing money. And the most poignant example of what happens in their minds when they don't print money is the 1930s Depression in the US. And if you remember, the Fed was not as happy with the money printer go.
Now, this is a really, really good explanation of what happened. The only thing I'll probably disagree with him right here with is like he's saying that because of them not doing that, it gave us such a great economy. No. If you actually read into what really happened and a lot of the stuff FDR did with the New Deal and stuff, it improved some things, but to tell you the truth, it didn't take us out of the Depression. World War II took us out of the Great Depression. A war did. So it's very likely we would have probably been still in the Great Depression and coming out of it around the time we finished it could have literally took until like the middle of the 1940s, maybe early 50s, with demographic changes and stuff like with maybe the new generation coming up and stuff, the baby boomers and stuff, that would have maybe took us out and stuff. So we definitely, I'm not over here like, trying to like, say that money printing's like, money printing is evil and stuff like that and all this other stuff. Like you sometimes do need to do it, but there is a really good case, and I've also defended Ben Bernanke on this, that he's right. If they didn't do all this quantitative easing in 2009, it's very likely we would have gone into a great depression, and basically would have thrown our fucking lives into a really bad sort of point and stuff. And I think it's pretty crazy sort of thought. I mean, more than likely, if that had happened, I think the United States would have just fucking gone straight to war with something. I mean, talking about a real war. So I think so we've saved actually a lot of lives and stuff, even though it's kind of fucked, but it just is what it is. But I'll let him continue on.
Button back in the day, and they actually allowed banking credit to get liquidated. I think, I forget if he was Secretary of the Treasury or not, but Andrew Mellon, remarked that they need to let the leverage get cleansed out of the system, and people need to go bankrupt. And this was sort of the ethos back then, a little bit more hewed to the free market capitalism versus, modern day corporate socialism that is in most countries around the world. And so the U.S. authorities essentially let the banking crisis unfold. They let the system get cleansed of the leverage. And one can argue that the U.S. actually put itself in a better position vis-a-vis Europe, who didn't do the same thing, faced with the same sort of deflationary impulses. And ultimately, that led the way for the U.S. essentially to bail out the Western world.
Though we were storing up gold, but here's a little cat. Dude, I'm gonna be pausing a lot. But there is something really interesting that happened in the during the Roaring '20s. Is a lot of people started seeing that, oh shit, this shit's going to start crashing. So there was a lot of people, the 1% of the 1% guys, basically like if there was the crypto bros, the real DeFi guys, started buying a lot of gold and silver. and hoarding up tons and tons of supply of it during that. And then when they crashed, they actually stayed wealthy. There was actually a subset of people that stayed extremely, extremely wealthy during the 1930s. And this was actually when we got the peak of the most expensive car era for a long, long time. I mean, we're talking about Duesenbergs and stuff. Like, we're talking about very, very, like, some of the most high advanced cars in the world were being created around this time. And there was basically the FDR and a lot of these guys, essentially what they did is they made gold illegal and to hold for people and stuff over. I think you couldn't have it over an ounce or something like that, and you could still have a gold wedding band and a couple of like jewelry pieces, but they made it basically illegal. They didn't really enforce it on regular people. What they did is they essentially knocked on doors and just stole, basically, like, imagine like the crypto thing's about to crash. We jump out a dollar, we buy a bunch of Bitcoin and Ethereum and stuff. It all goes to the dollar goes to zero, and then basically they make like, oh, it's illegal to hold a bunch of crypto unless you tell everybody about it, right? And then they go into your house and just basically wrench gang and steal your wealth. And this is what happened. There was a lot of gold that was stolen from very, very rich people, and a lot of people in the 1930s got killed. This is a very this is a very rare story I'm telling you about right now, but there's people who profited extremely well off of that, and then the government basically went in, jacked all that gold. So that's the reason the United States was in such a good gold position, was because they killed a ton of people who made a lot of money and betting against the stock market, or just was prudent enough to invest their money away and stuff like that. So that's really what happened. So yeah, man. Full screen it.
When they decided to blow themselves up in World War II. But after that, everyone learned this lesson. They thought they learned this lesson that anytime there is the threat of deflation, anytime there is a threat of a banking panic, for whatever reason, the response must be to print money. And every single cycle, they come up with a new term for it. The most recent one was quantitative easing, which I believe was a phrase coined by Professor Werner when he was talking about the Bank of Japan after the 1989 crisis. And essentially, it just means that the central bank, in some way, shape, or form, is printing money. Now, technically speaking, it's not like the Federal Reserve has a money printer and there's a bunch of dollars coming out. In the prior circumstance, the Fed was printing bank reserves. And so you see this balance on the Fed's balance sheet of how much excess money the banking system has, and it's something like $3 trillion last time I checked. But that's essentially what they respond to. And so as crypto people are like, okay, well, 2009, right after the global financial crisis, Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. That December, Ben Bernanke had basically announced that he is going to embark on this thing called quantitative easing, purchasing these assets to sort of, bring financial conditions more liquid so that people can make loans and businesses can expand, at least in his theory. And starting in March 2009 is when the Fed made its first purchase, and that pretty much marks the bottom of the S&P, around 666. And obviously we know that the Bitcoin Genesis block was, in January of 2009. And some could say that it was in part a direct response to, the biggest financial crisis since the 1930s, and the response of the authorities, which, different from then, was to, okay, we're going to print money and bail everybody out. And so we went through that cycle from 2009 until basically up until 2020, when prior to COVID, the Fed was toying with this idea that they were going to, in Janet Yellen words, watch paint dry as their balance sheet declined. And Jay Powell, who was the Fed chairman at the time, was in the beginning of trying to tighten monetary policy. And then all of a sudden, COVID-19 happened. And, there were the specter of lockdowns in America, and the financial conditions started to tighten. Everybody was worried about all these different companies going out of business. The corporate credit market froze. And, there's just basically a tailspin, and the S&P 10-year Treasury touched a low, intraday low, I think 33 basis points. And then the Fed responded with an immediate emergency meeting, and they said, essentially, we're going to nationalize the entire U.S. corporate bond market by guaranteeing BBB and above. You can sell it to us. And we're going to provide infinite liquidity to make sure that financial conditions can stomach this pandemic. And then, obviously, in response, the U.S. federal government, out of any government in the entire world, developed and developing, printed the most money by basically handing out checks to people. The stimmy checks, right? Everybody got a check.
Now, I want to say the stimulus checks, even though they printed, that was a lot of money that was printed out and stuff like that. there was a significantly really good amount that was also given to small businesses and stuff like that. And I really the PPP loans or the PPV loans and stuff like that, as well as there was essentially a suite of like loans that were giving out. One of them was essentially just free money. Just had a small business, prove you had employees in this, and make a certain amount of money, and you just got a lot of cash. Then there's another one where if you wanted to take on some real debt, you could and get lines of credit and be given a ton of money. This is what caused a lot of the problems in terms of the money printing, and then also where these businesses actually deposited their capital. Businesses, small businesses, I mean, any business basically is a lot more of a risk, or a very high or very wealthy person is more of a risk when it comes to depositing money, because let's just say I'm really pissed off with my bank. Fuck you guys, I'm closing the bank account, taking all that money out. That's a larger amount of money. So imagine like if the average 35-year-old has $5,500, that's a real stat, look it up, has like $5,000. Imagine some guy who takes out $1 million. That's a lot of people. I mean, just look at that and stuff. That's quite a lot of capital and stuff. So most people got their stimmy check, deposited it into a bank, and spent it, or invested it. Yeah, shout out to my boys. But hopefully you invested it. But that was either spent or invested, and that money just flowed off into where? Amazon, Google. Literally, I think if I had to guesstimate, I think almost 30% of that money that was printed essentially just went into fucking Amazon.com to purchase stuff on Amazon. So that's why Amazon went up quite a lot. Let me tell you that much and stuff. And like $1,200 isn't really that a lot of money, but overall, I mean, you give that many people that much money, it's a very stimulating effect. But where the crazy investment money came from and stuff like that was really from these small businesses and stuff. There's a lot of people that have businesses just threw all their money into crypto or threw it all into stock market and stuff. And this is what really raised the prices on everything. And on top of that, some of these businesses took these loans and just safely put it in the bank. Well, now the bank has more capital. Now they can borrow money, and they're out earning so imagine that you've just gotten $1 billion of deposits, or $10 billion of deposits, right? If you're earning 3%, 1%, 2% for free on it and stuff like that, I mean, the bank is essentially just printing like 20 million per billion. So if you get 10 billion, I mean, you're earning a lot. You're earning 200 million. If you have $10 billion in deposits, you're earning a significant amount of money in capital and stuff. Like, that is quite a lot. So go ahead.
Some people bought, went on Robinhood and punted crypto and Doge and stocks, whatever. Some people bought got to put a down payment on a new car, whatever. Everybody got money and everybody did whatever they wanted to do with it, right? And so that was in the tune of a few $1 trillion. And guess what? People were like, oh, that's kind of inflationary. We don't actually want to own U.S. treasuries if the government's just going to be handing out money to people. So what happened? The Federal Reserves, did their job, and they bought almost half of the issuance of this debt, and underpinned this massive amount of money printing, the most since World War II for the U.S. And obviously, crypto went from about 3,500, 4,000 to 69,000 at the peak. And then obviously they throw us, oh my fucking God, we overdid it. So we need to go the other direction. And then Jerome Powell raised rates the fastest of any Fed chairman in modern day history. And now we are where we are today. The consequence of super easy monetary policy in one direction really quick, super tight monetary policy in the other direction really, really quick, and now we essentially bankrupted the entire U.S. banking system.
So the punchline that I think really we need to get to is this thing called the BTFP, the Bank Term Funding Program. And thank you for walking us through what was the setup to this. But I want to really just drive the setup home. And so a bunch of money gets printed in this crazy bull market that happened both inside and outside of crypto. And as a result of that, a bunch of new money gets deposited into a bunch of new banks. And this kind of sets up a lot of these commercial banks, the commercial banking sector, into kind of a trap, because once the Fed raised all the interest rates, all of a sudden the paradigm shifts. Can you walk us through that last bit of context to set us up for this bank term funding program?
Sure. So obviously, post the global financial crisis, essentially the U.S. banking system is bifurcated into the super large, too big to fail. They call them globally systemic important banks like the J.P. Morgan, the Citis, Wells Fargo's, Bank of America, those type of banks. And then you have everybody else, right? And there's a lot of the new regulations passed on how to do banking in the U.S. and around the world. That's Dodd-Frank in the U.S. and Basel III internationally. And basically what it meant was only the really large players could really make money because it's just so expensive to be a bank. But, America is very, there's obviously high income disparities between people and businesses, but there is a big tail of people at the middle and the low end, right? And all these people got checks from the government. And what do? They went to their local bank. It might not be a JP Morgan or a Citi, it might be a community bank, a regional bank, and they deposited all this money. And then, let's take the one case that everybody's really focusing on, the Silicon Valley Bank. Okay, you have this history of startups raising a lot of money. You have 2020.
Now, what he's talking about here is a pretty important sort of distinction here. Now, sure, $1,200, everyone depositing that does help out the banks, of course, right? Everyone's like, yay, more money in the system, right? But what he's talking about right here is during the the whole COVID lockdown, tech businesses like Zoom and stuff and everything like that went bananas. So everyone's just trying to do some sort of online startup, and all that money that was raised was deposited. If 50% of all the startups in Silicon Valley were at Silicon Valley Bank. So you ended up having a huge bull market. And imagine you concentrated all that money, half of the money raised in Silicon Valley in one bank. And because of that bank had so much fucking money, they were like, holy shit, where do we put it? Where do we put it? Let's put it into, and basically we could put it anywhere and just make a ton of money. But what they didn't expect is the Federal Reserve to increase interest rates to basically where it's at right now, over 400 basis points higher from zero, basically, right? And because of that, the bonds that they bought crashed in price. And then they had to lock in, they had a lot of paper losses, basically. And then from there, a bank run happened, and then that's why they went down and stuff. So there you go.
2021, this massive money printing, tech is just going bananas. People are raising massive rounds, and what do? They stick all their money right back into the bank that was supporting them, Silicon Valley Bank, right? Another, no-name small bank that sort of rose to prominence. I don't know who published this chart, but there's a great chart that shows percentage rise of deposits over the last 3 years, and you see Silicon Valley Bank is like one of the biggest beneficiaries of just deposits in general. And so as a bank, what do you do when you get a lot of money, right? The job of a bank is to take money from depositors and to lend it out, right? And, as we know, banks don't actually like to take real risk. If there's a way that the bank can earn money without taking a lot of risk, and the risk in this sense is more like a credit risk, right? Lending to an individual person or a small business is way riskier than lending to, say, an arm of the United States government. So the bank says, okay, well, I'm getting all these deposits essentially for free. I'm paying 0%. I can go lend to the U.S. government in treasuries 1% to 2%. I can help originate mortgages or buy mortgage-backed securities, and those yield 3% to 4%. And then on billions and billions of dollars, I just get to sit here and take money, pay nothing, lend money to the U.S. government, and I make 1% to 3%, net interest margins. That's a fucking great business. And as I pointed out in the article, the shares of the small banks, soared, right? Something like over 1.5 times from 2019 to 2021 at the peak, because these banks had never had so much deposits, never had so much raw net income from just lending to the U.S. government. And then as a banker, how can you lose your job? It's not like I'm going out and lending to like sketchy individuals. I'm literally lending to the U.S. government, who essentially regulates me. So what's wrong?
Basically, the government and all this printing, essentially what they did, what the federal government did, or no, wait, skirt, the Federal Reserve did, which is not a part of the federal government, ish, and then the federal government ordering stuff around and stuff, right? What in a weird roundabout way, they essentially created all this money printing. And then that money printing went in, and a lot of this money went into the banking sector. And the banking sector basically was kind of pushed, because the banking sector are a bunch of pussies, and they, instead of lending to people and like they're afraid of losses, they all essentially went to the U.S. bond market and started buying bonds and mortgage-backed securities. So it's, in a roundabout way, the Fed has basically paid the banks to buy U.S. bonds. Huh. Interesting. So instead of directly like just printing money and buying bonds because it looks bad, they found a roundabout way to essentially make sure that the government can keep paying its bills, and then when it issues out $100 billion in bonds, there's people buying it.
I don't see, if I'm thinking of a bank manager, this is the best trade ever. My stock price goes up, I make a lot of money, I'm taking little to no credit risk because I'm lending to the government. So
and
that's
also importantly, they're buying
situation.
very long-term bonds, correct? That's also like a super important part of the story.
Yeah, so they couldn't just lend to the U.S. government on like an overnight basis or a 1 year basis because that was basically zero, because that was where the Fed plays in that 0 to 1 to 2 year mark. That's where they really control the short end of the curve, and that was at 0% as per Fed policy. So they said, okay, we need to take more duration or time risk. Let's lend to the government for longer periods of time so we can earn more income.
10 years.
So that's 10-year treasuries,
Goddamn,
mortgage bonds. And essentially what that means from a risk perspective is the longer the bond, the riskier it is as interest rates change. And so a small change in interest rates can change the price of a 10-year or 30-year bond much more than a small.
So now, right? So how the interest rates have gone up to like 4%, right? For almost 5%, right? For the federal fund rate. Your savings account, we should start having within a year or so. The way if the banks were working how they're supposed to be working, you should have a 5 or 6% savings account earning interest now, because the bonds will pay out more than that. But that's not happening. They're paying you nothing in the bank. So essentially, the reason the banks all did this shit was because they're like, well, 3% is nothing. That's inflation. But yeah, but if you're just getting money for free and you're earning interest off of free money, it's all profit, right? Your $1 million deposit, they're earning 3% on that. They're earning 30 grand for free off of you. Well, that's 1%. I guess it'd be 90 and shit. But still, I digress. But still, like if they're earning, oh, actually no, it was 30,000. My bad. So they're earning $30,000 off every $1 million deposited and stuff, and they're not doing anything. So the bank's just like, sheesh, we're just earning all this cash right now. So imagine $1 billion of brand new deposits. The bank's like, yeah, we're just counting up cash right now. But then the problem is that they all got these 10-year bonds, and then when the Fed started increasing interest rates really rapidly, god damn, they got smoked.
Small change in interest rates can change the price of a bond that's going to mature in the next year. And so the banks, instead of having credit risk, they had duration risk. If interest rates rose, they stand to lose a lot of money.
And so from 2008, the banking sector probably loses their appetite for credit risk. I think that's one of the important pieces of setup here. And so what you're saying is they go into the most solvent entity that exists, which is the Fed, because they can print money. But in order to have any sort of margin whatsoever, they have to buy the longest term bonds, because we were existing inside of a paradigm of zero interest rates for so long. That was the equilibrium that has been established almost completely since 2008. And so that's the setup for like what I'm modeling out as like the Fed rug pull, because they inject a bunch of liquidity and then they jack up interest rates faster than they've ever jacked them up before. And so Arthur, what does this do to the banking sector? And like, this is the setup for this current crisis that we're inside of, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So the banking sector has all these U.S. government bonds, long-dated bonds, and then the Fed goes, okay, us and the fiscal politicians have created all this inflation. We need to rein this in. And so we're going to raise rates really, really fast. And, Jerome Powell thinks he's the modern day Paul Volcker, who, that starting in 1979, rose short-term rates, something almost like 20% to sort of break the back of inflation. And Powell says, okay, we're going to raise rates too, really, really fast to get to, in his mind, neutral. And so the Fed is targeting core personal consumption expenditures, core PCE is their measure. And so he needs to raise rates really, really fast.
So if you look at this chart right here, right? So in the red, which is our current time right now, this is how fast he's increased rates. Boom, 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 boom. I think that this black one right here, this is Paul Volcker. He just like went, just shot it. So basically, this is the second fastest increase of rates, like damn near ever, in terms of a short amount of time. Now there's ones here where they just jumped it up, boom, boom, and then stop. You see, there's a huge flat line, but these are consistent stair steps up, 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 and this is the 25 basis point increase. Well, if you look at it, right, we're probably going to get 2 to 3 more 25 basis point increases. So 1, 2, 3. So we're somewhere over here, basically. So it just puts us at these 5.5. And I've said this for a lot of, if you guys have been paying attention to my streams, 5.5% is when small cities start going belly up. Because small municipality, damn, I have trouble saying that word. But like basically your local, your local state cities and stuff who borrow money and stuff. They also buy bonds and stuff, and they're also underwater. And they've like, oh my god, and cities always make the worst fucking investments. God damn, dude. So we're gonna start, and then on top of that, you also have a lot of people taking real estate loans and stuff that are in these kind of arms or these kind of bubbles and shit, bubble loans and stuff where they stay at a very low interest rate and then they balloon to the current interest rate. So imagine I actually know a couple guys that bought all their real estate in San Francisco, at 1.7% interest. Nice. But it was this very special loan. Instead of locking in 3%, 3.5%, they decided, no, I want to maximize my cash flow. And I'm going to do a 2-year super low rate and then whatever the current interest rate is, right? At the time, you're like, oh, interest rates are going to stay zero forever. It's only been 10 years. And they do that deal. They have a 1.7% interest rate, and then it just jacks up to 6. That means they're going to be paying there goes all the cash flow with interest payments. Oof. Right? So at 5.5% right now, because I think right now, we're 4.5 right now, basically. When we hit up to this 5.25, 5.50, we are going to start seeing fireworks, you guys. More than likely, what we're probably going to see is we're going to touch that level, either 5.25 is if I'm being honest, I think we stay at 5.25. I think that's where we chill out for a while. And then when shit goes down, I think the Fed's going to lower us down to 3%, which is right here. And stay there. We stay at either 3.5 or 3%, and that's a long term where the rates are going to stay at probably for the next 5 years. After 5 years, we probably go back to zero again. So, and that's mostly because of demographics. We start getting the millennials entering the capital time of their era and stuff, where you start getting we start getting a lot of millennials entering the 45 age, 40 age and stuff. I'm currently 30, so that's still 15 years away from me, right? But as time goes on, more and more of us start entering working age. So we start controlling more and more of the economy, and more of our cash and income starts going up. So then there's a lot of capital in the banks and stuff. So we start earning more money. We start saving more money for retirement. And then that flushes the system with cash and then drives rates down. And then we could probably get another lower, we could end up having closer to 2% rates, lows or stuff like that. So it'll be cheaper to borrow money at the time. So FYI.
Obviously, every month there's a new high in year-on-year inflation as measured by the Consumer Price Index, and the politicians are all over him. The Democrats are looking like they're going to get their asses kicked in the midterm elections because everybody's worried that the price of gas and the price of milk is going up. So there's all this pressure on the Fed, beat inflation, beat inflation, beat inflation. Fed goes, okay, well, we stuffed the banking system full of reserves, right? So they're very, very solvent. There's trillions of dollars sitting over here that I see from the banks that I regulate. Okay, they can handle it. So they start jacking rates. And so what happens? The prices of bonds in 2022, so Fed communicates starting in December 2021, hey, we're going to start this thing called quantitative tightening, which means we're going to allow the bonds that are maturing on our balance sheet, we're not going to reinvest them into the bond market. So our balance sheet is going to shrink slowly at the tune of about $100 billion a month, they've ramped up starting in September of 2022. And we're going to raise the short-term policy rate starting in March. So they started raising policy rate in March, quantitative tightening kicks in. So you have this dual effect. Not only is the price of money going up, but the quantity of money is going down as well. And so it's really, really tightening financial conditions. And as a result, 2022 was one of the worst years for the bond market on record, right? Because when you move from essentially 0 to 1% interest rates to even 2, 3, 4%.
So, and then this is something that I actually if you guys actually go back, there was I'm not sure if it was a financial adventure stream we did on Fresh and Fit when we were in Miami. It was me, George Gammon, and a couple other guys in there and stuff. When we talked about when interest rates are increasing, the price on the bond actually goes down because there's brand new bonds you could buy that have the higher interest rate. So they have to make themselves cheaper, so that their yield whatever yield they're paying. So if it's 100, so if the yield goes up 2%. The bond has to go down 20, 30, whatever dollar amount in order to lower it down. So when you can buy it at $72 and the yield's equal to the new bonds, or it won't be competitive in the bond market. So that's what happens with bonds and stuff. So There's this guy he was the bond king. He basically started his career the day that the day that Paul Volcker stopped increasing the interest rates, and then basically was selling bonds. So when interest rates are really, really high and they start going down, bond prices go like this. So you're just whatever asshole. You just buy whatever bond, hold it, sell it for more money later, and then that's what happened. So he made billions. Shout out to my boy. He made a lot of money. Then in 2009, he left the market. Says, yeah, the interest rate hit 0. I'm out. He retired. Genius. I'm talking about, career-wise, genius. So when we get these higher interest rate spikes and stuff, basically around 5.25, 5.50, that'd probably be a really good time for bond investors to really make some money, because then the rates are going to start going down, and you can people, not us, I'm not going to play in that market, but people who are in the bond market are going to make some cash and shit. So right now they're in biblical recession for their industry right now.
Like, to us, it's only a few percentage points difference in the rate of interest, but that's a 2, 3, 4x change in the nominal level of interest rates, and on a highly nonlinear bond that has a lot of what we call gamma or convexity at the zero bound, it causes ridiculously bad losses for anybody who's long bonds. And as we saw, bond funds got their asses kicked. Bloomberg Aggregate Bond Index was down something like 15 or 20% in the year, which is the worst
for bonds.
Yikes! Probably early 19th century, at least in the U.S. context in terms of the bond market. And the banks are basically sitting on all these losses. And so the bank's balance sheet is broken up into two things. They have what we call available for sale bonds, which are the bonds that they mark to market. And so those will fluctuate, and you can see, gains and losses. And then they have held to maturity securities, which is this essentially sleight of hand that they get.
So look at all the losses they have right now. So if you guys go into my previous streams, live streams, I've done videos on banks and stuff, and what happened with the banking collapses and stuff. It's a USD stream that has in the thumbnail. But basically, there's two buckets that banks are holding on to, right? So you have bonds that you hold in one bucket, and then you have so you basically have liquid bonds and staked bonds, just to make it simple for the people in the crypto community. So basically, if you're a bank and you're going to hold on to a bond for a long time and you're not going to sell it, you're just going to wait and just collect the dividends off of it and then collect your original money. Then basically, the banks, the United States government has put a special provision, because you're not going to sell it, then it shouldn't be on your balance sheet. But if you put too many of your bonds on that side right there, you can get into this problem where you can have a bank run. So it's this ebb and flow where you have to put a certain amount in the staked category and a certain amount in the unstaked category. And if you don't have enough unstaked income, if there's ever a huge demand for your stuff, you can go belly up and you can have a bunch of losses. So there's tons of banks that basically, because these bonds started going really bad because the interest rates started increasing, a lot of these banks were like, well, let's hide this off the balance sheet because we want to keep our stock prices high. So they put it into the staked category, which they can at any time. So it's a way of banks can kind of play around with the numbers when it comes to their bank and stuff. And Silicon Valley did a lot of that right there, and basically didn't have enough cash on hand and had a bank run. So they basically staked all their hex in that term. And then, bro, you need to pay me my hex back. I don't have it. It's all staked. Motherfucker! And then belly up.
Get the play. They say, oh, I have a 30-year bond. I'm not going to sell it for 30 years. Therefore, even if the price goes down 50%, because I'm waiting for maturity and I'll get back all my money plus interest, I don't need to mark that to market. And so if I have a lot of held to maturity securities and the prices start tanking, hey, regulator, don't come after me for breaching regulatory deposit or requirements. These are held to maturity. You can hold these at par. And the regulators, sure, because we don't want to actually do our jobs and look at what the banks actually hold. And so then we get to play this game that the banks have all these unrealized losses on held to maturity securities, but from an accounting standpoint, they're solvent and they meet all the requirements. And so
for some reason, this is legal, which is insane, right? Because we're basically pricing in the future of what a bond will be priced at in the future and saying that you can account for that today. Do you have any intuition as to why this is allowed?
Well, from a logical standpoint, if the bank says, I'm never going to sell this, and
all right, listen up, you guys. I think he's literally about to talk what I just said earlier. This is really important right here.
From a logical standpoint, if the bank says, I'm never going to sell this, and it's with the U.S. government, then I should not be penalized in terms of a capital charge. So if you think, U.S. Treasuries don't require any additional capital against them as per, I think, Basel III banking regulation. So what is the bank versus if they lent to you and me, then they need to reserve against losses, right? Because we could.
So because they're buying U.S. debt, they give them special, because they know U.S. debt sometimes isn't the best thing to buy, so they give them special little, hey, thanks for buying this, you get this tax break. It's just like, hey, you bought real estate, we're gonna give you this tax break. Got it. Cool. Or you spent, or if you and you can devalue. So that's why there's so much good tax breaks and stuff for real estate, because that's good for the economy and stuff like that. Well, it's good for the U.S. government for people to be buying bonds, banks buying U.S. bonds and stuff like that. So they give them special leeway on that.
Default. So from a capital perspective, lending to the government means I don't have to put up additional equity or capital against these loans or reserve for losses, versus lending to real people and real businesses. That's considered riskier. Therefore, I need to put up additional capital. So am I going to make those loans? Fuck no. I'm going to lend to the government. Right? I'm getting 2 or 3% risk-free, essentially, for doing that versus taking real risk to underwriting a loan.
See, these smart motherfuckers cuss, bro. He's let me tell you this right now. They had us put I think for the stream, they had hey, you guys, Arthur Hayes actually cusses quite a few times in here. Just FYI. No, I'm just joking, but it's so funny because this guy literally, this is one of this really smart man in crypto. This is like a top 20 guy in crypto in terms of managing money and all this stuff. I'm not talking about a guy developing code and stuff, but in terms of the markets here in crypto, and this man cusses, and that's what I'm telling you. Yeah.
And then getting charged more capital, and possibly I could be in breach of my requirements and have to go to the equity markets and raise more funds, and just not a lot of fun. I like to do the easy thing and still get paid, right? And so that's what banks did.
Sure. And importantly, regardless of how you measure the value of the bond, whether the government allows you to measure it at the full term maturity, it still doesn't change the fact that there's only so much cash that's available for withdrawal by all of these banks. And so that kind of brings us to where we are today.
The market doesn't lie. The Treasury's down 30%. Okay, cool. You can ignore it for 30 years, or if you have to sell it today, then you're realizing a 30% loss. And that was the issue.
And this is kind of where we are in the current state of affairs in the last week or so, where bank stocks are red across the board. And so can you just give us an audit, a sit rep of the current state of the United States banking sector? Everything from my knowledge is deeply red. How bad is it?
Again, it's a bifurcated market. It's I think the U.S. is sort of at this ideological turning point. They don't know what to do, right? Do we want to be like China, which has essentially 4 state banks? All credit is going through those banks, and that's Bank of China, ICBC, Bank of Communications, and CCB, China Construction Bank. You could the analogous would be like J.P. Morgan, Citi, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, right? Is that what the
China
U.S. want the banking system to be? Let's have 4 really, really big banks.
So basically, what he's saying is that's kind of what's going. We're starting to see the beginning of what's going on right now. Is we're having a. This is basically an inside job right now to destroy a lot of the smaller banks in America, in order to concentrate the banking sector, and in order to bring out the central bank digital currency and stuff. We won't be at the same level as China with only 4 banks, but we're probably going to go down to probably 100, maybe 200. I think if I remember correctly, FDIC has 5,600 partner banks. So imagine that that list growing smaller and smaller to 1,000 or something like that, maybe over the next 10, 20 years. Yikes.
They do all the credit creation. They're super sound, but there's, they ossify. There's little to no financial innovation, blah, blah, blah. But, they're essentially actors of the state. Or do we want to have a more freewheeling market where you have thousands of small banks catering to the different, how a different location might do banking or different credit conditions, right? It's kind of the reason why you have either one central bank, which is let's say the ECB, right? There's one central bank for all of Europe, versus the Fed system where I forgot how many regional banks there are, and they feed up into the board of governors, right? Because it's a little bit more decentralized structure, because the U.S. is coming from this agrarian perspective of, okay, there's different regions in the U.S. that have different industries, therefore there's going to be different rates of interest that would apply. Which one do you want to choose? It's sort of a philosophical question. And so essentially in the US, you have this sort of schizophrenia. You have on the one hand, all these rules that are supposed to make banks safer, but all they do is increase the cost of compliance and mean that there's only really a few handful of players that can afford to do it. They're really, really big banks. And then you have all these long tail of smaller banks that essentially serve all the things that the big banks don't want to do. Because the big banks don't need to serve Silicon Valley startups, the crypto industry, legal marijuana, like all these different things that other banks might cater to that the big banks don't need to because.
Yeah, so he's basically saying these big banks, because they have everyone just has all their money at there. They can do all these passive investments and stuff and make tons of money, and they can afford to do all this stuff and do all these low risk strategies along with then doing degenerate, like basically investment banking stuff in the background, right? But manipulating markets and stuff. But then these small banks, essentially, they have to get into niches in order for them to actually make money and stuff. So crypto banking, some small startups. You basically pick your lane. You guys all know, like, out in the Midwest, there's like a bank that essentially lends to farmers. Like they have their niches where they make their money and stuff. So they become very, very. You get a lot of snipers or very they're basically, if we're talking about money, looks game, whatever the fuck it is, right? I'm fucking a little speeding right here, but basically, they're highly concentrated in one vertical and stuff because they know it so well and they can make money in there and stuff. But then this stuff is really hurting the small banks because it gets rid of that. So this is actually going. If more banks keep going down, this hurts America because then small businesses, which is the backbone of America and the rest of the world, let's be for real, can't get these loans and stuff, then it's really, really bad. And this is probably where crypto is going to come in, I would imagine, in the next 10, 20 years, where we're going to, since they're rugging that, then the small bank is going to, all that business is probably going to go to crypto, DeFi.
Because they have so much business. They have the biggest companies in the world, stashing billions of dollars of deposits. They can lend them money. It's very safe. Like, those are the kind of clients that these smaller banks will never, ever have. And so you have this different banking system. Because the big banks are fine. They've got trillions of dollars of excess liquidity with the Fed. They have essentially an explicit government guarantee because they're deemed too big to fail. But then the smaller banks don't have this guarantee. They're supposed to be these free market actors responding to, supply and demand in the market. And so that was a setup for where we are today. Everybody did the same trade. It's just the smaller banks did it in much bigger size relative to their equity capital. They got a lot of deposits that they never had before. They made a lot of loans to the U.S. government, right? And not only the U.S. government, they were responsible for a lot of the, construction loans, a lot of the commercial real estate loans, which is now in focus, right? So they were doing all the things that generate the economic activity of the United States. And in most countries in the world, it's the small businesses, the single operators. They're responsible for the majority of all economic activity. Those people can't get accounts at a JP Morgan or a Citi, but they can get an account at First National, at a Silicon Valley bank, at these smaller banks. And so they were the ones making all these riskier loans. They were the ones who had much more exposure to, a rise in interest rates based on their government bond portfolios. And that's where we are today. Now, obviously, all banking stocks are down across the board, but no one's worried that JP Morgan is going out of business. But they're worried about these smaller banks that aren't too big to fail. The question mark of what is the government going to do? Are they going to extend? Can they access a discount window? Are they able to do the things that a JP or a Citi can do vis-a-vis their interactions with the government? And this uncertainty is what's driving people out of the system. Like, well, okay, do I leave my money at this smaller bank and take any risk that for whatever reason the politicians decide we're going to let this one fail? We're going to do free market over here, socialism over here. And so then you're like, I'm going to go with socialism because then I get my money back. And then that's the problem. So all the deposits are like, fuck this, I'm out. And then as the deposits leave, the small banks are like, okay, well, what do we have to do to give back the money? We have to sell these bonds. And then that is why this is where this bank term funding program came about. It's like, okay, the Fed doesn't want us to sell the bonds because if they sell these treasuries, not only do they realize a loss and technically go bankrupt, they create a disorderly market in the treasury market, right? Because liquidity has declined since 2008, when essentially the government made it very hard for banks to make markets and treasuries profitably. So they said, okay, we're going to step back. Now the majority of liquidity are these non-bank financial actors, but they're not going to provide liquidity when it's needed. They'll provide it when it's not needed, the fair weather friends of the market. And so the last thing the Fed and the Treasury want is everyone dumping bonds to get deposits to just go to stuff them in JP Morgan, right? It's kind of this it's this vicious cycle, right? Okay, we need to bail out the small banks because everyone is worried that we're not going to extend the same preferences to them that we're extending to these big guys over here. So everyone's going to the big guys, and then the small banks go under, and it causes all this knock-on effects. And so that was what the Bank Term Funding Program is there to solve. It says, don't worry, you don't need to sell your bonds. If depositors leave, just give us the bonds. We'll give you the full value of the bond in cash, and then you give
for just 1 year, FYI, just for 1 year. And then, but yeah, basically I explained this in the previous stream, but yeah, pretty much they've kind of backstopped these banks, and now it's kind of put the banks in a really interesting spot. They can kind of do more degenerate shit now. This has actually brought a lot more leverage. I think brought more crazy leverage in how we're probably gonna have a very, very nice bull market. So wealth transfers to us, but make sure to take profit, you guys. But I have a feeling we're gonna have a really good green hockey stick in the future for the next year, and then 2025. Damn, we're gonna be living nice. Sheesh.
If you're about to deposit or cash, and now you've done your duty as a bank, no issue, no bank failures. You might not make any money, but management, you're not looking like guys from SVB, Silvergate, Signature who don't have a job anymore because they've been taken over. You're there, right? And so that's essentially the program in essence.
I actually haven't heard it articulated in this particular way. That I actually find this really, really useful. My mental model for well,
obviously you got to listen to Dog Cost Crypto, but okay, never mind.
All the shenanigans that have happened in the banking sector is that there's been a flight upstream to the big banks. The long tail of banks is more or less getting cut off because of the fastest rising interest rates that we've ever had. That, I think, is more or less what most people understand. The fact The fact that this long tail of banks are also serving the long tail of the economy is actually a new insight for me that I haven't heard before. And so this is perhaps why you started this conversation saying, well, what do we want out of our banking sector? Do we want it to be like China, where everything does centralize in the 4 biggest banks inside of the country? Or do we want to actually promote the long tail of banks that promotes the long tail of the United States economy? And I think what you're saying is this new institution, this new bank term funding program, is a political statement that we do want to support that long tail. This is my interpretation.
It's kind of a halfway house. It's not there yet. It solved the first problem. The first problem was, I'm not going to get my deposit back. So after, it was Silvergate first. Now, unfortunately, they were the runt of the litter. No one's getting their money back. And then you had Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. Depositors are getting their money back, but management's been kicked out, equity's been zeroed, right? And then the third iteration was, okay, we have bank term funding program. Nobody's going bankrupt. Nobody's losing their jobs. Depositors get their money back. But the cost is, it's not free. So the problem is that my deposits were at 0%. The Fed, via the reverse repo and short-term treasury yields, is 4 to 5%. And so depositors are like, okay, I can leave my money here, take risks that this bank goes bust, and I get 0. Or I can go give my money to the Fed overnight via a money market fund. They can print money, they'll always pay me back, and I get 4%? Why the fuck am I sitting in this deposit? And so I'm just going to keep funneling money up to the Fed, right? Funneling money to the U.S. government in short-term treasury bills.
So basically saying for people who have a ton of money and stuff like that, they're like, man, why the fuck do I even have my money in any of these banks at all? This is the bigger level, okay? This is a bigger level of playing here. This is where you're really playing with tens of millions of dollars. Where if you have 5 million or less and stuff like that, you can open bank accounts. It's annoying, but you can have 10 banks. 10 banks, money here or there. You can open some multiple accounts in your FDIC. What happens is you start getting 10, 20, 30 million dollars plus and stuff. You start having a lot of capital, and some of these players who are in some of these smaller regional banks are saying, fuck this shit. Let me just buy US bonds because they'll always print them for me. So instead they're basically like this. I love how I can always explain everything in hex terms, but basically it's like I have all this liquid hex, but these banks are going to I might lose my liquid hex position. So I'll just stake my hex on the main hex staking contract, or I'll stake it with the U.S. government. And even though I won't have it liquid there, I'll be being paid a little dividend, and I won't lose my money because he's like, well, okay, if I have $40 million, let me put 20 million of my money in bonds, get paid that 4%, and I know I won't get rugged from this money anyway. So I'll get my 4%, and I'll get my original money back. And if anything happens, the U.S. government will just print the money, so I'll get my capital back. Cool. And then I'll structure myself in the banks, and then I'll move some of my bank from the small banks over to the bigger banks. Oof.
And what does the Fed do? It says, okay, well, to fund that, we're just going to let the banks give us their underwater paper, their mortgages, their treasuries, and we'll give you back dollars. But that doesn't solve the issue that the difference between what the banks can afford to pay, which let's call it 1% on deposits, versus what the federal government is giving on an overnight basis, which is 4 to 5%.
Did you just hear what he said right there? Did you hear what he said right there? That's the incentive right there of why, the Fed is rugging the banking sector, basically. Why the fuck would I leave my deposits here for 1% when the federal government or the Fed, which isn't a part of the federal government, I know that. Just stop telling me that, please. For the love of God, I know that. It just sounds better saying it. All right. I'm a word poet. But the Federal Reserve is paying 4%, soon to be 5.5%.
Too large, right? The banks can't make money. Short, small banks cannot make money borrowing short and lending long. We saw this with the inverted yield curve, 2-year versus 10-year, 2-year versus 30-year. Before this crisis broke out, 100 basis points negative, essentially massively inverted, which is telling you the banking system cannot make money. And as students of financial history, the central banks know that if your banking system in a fiat economy and this leveraged business cycle that we have, if your banking system is not sound, your economy can never be sound. And it's been evidenced time and time and again, right? Japan, 1989 crash, economy's flatlined for the past 30 years. China tried to go after its property market. Banking system was about to collapse. They've relaxed some things a bit, but China's on path for another 20 to 30 years of essentially, if you look at the real numbers, zero growth, right? Because the banking system needs to allocate these losses. The U.S. did this, some people would say the smart thing in the 1930s, very painful. They allocated losses in the 1930s, caused a Great Depression. However, that was all expunged, that the GDP was much lower when they came into World War II versus Europe, who didn't do that. And they benefited from it because they took the pain. This situation, we don't take the pain. We extend it out further. But the pain will get paid by just below trend or zero growth. And so this is what happens when the banking system can't make money and everyone requires a loan to expand output. The small banks cannot make money if the Fed funds rate's at 4%, even if they give their treasuries to the Fed. Great, they've solved the bankruptcy issue. Everybody gets back their money, but the bank cannot make money. The bank is just going to accrue losses. So these stocks, even if they're not a zero, they're dead money. Why would you invest in these things? These small banks can't make money, especially if the yield curve even if the yield curve goes positive, the short end rates are still too high relative to their blended costs of where they originated these initial loans. They can't pay 4% on Fed funds. So while the Fed has solved the issue of everybody getting their money back, who's a U.S. bank who holds treasuries, they haven't solved the issue of I'm a small bank. I cannot power the American economy because I can't issue loans because I'm losing money and their interest rates are too high at the short end for me to pay depositors something that's going to attract them to my bank so that I can lend money to the small business or the single proprietor. So they've solved this very small issue. I mean, it's massive impact in terms of liquidity, but they still haven't solved the real issue, which is the banking system is broken. They can't make money, they can't make loans, and the U.S. economy, and I would say most of the developed world economies are on track for a nasty
This is a smart dude. Now he doesn't have access to exchange anymore and everything like that. This dude has made some really good money moves recently and stuff, tracking his wallets. He bought LixRare at a really great price and then made some really good amount of Ethereum. Dude, this is smart. This is smart dude and stuff. And of course, not all his wallets are public, of course.
It's a cycle credit-induced recession because the banks can't make any money with short rates this high.
Uniswap is the largest on-chain marketplace for self-custody listening to fiat right out of the dirt. Let me for you.
God damn, they just sneaked it on YouTube. Trash, bro. That was basura, dude. My God, man. My commercial is going to be way funnier and better. I swear to you. You want to lose all your money shitcoin trading? Use Uniswap. Uniswap. Oh, LOL, man. All right, let's go.
What is going to happen going from the past and present into the future. So there's a couple of different threads we can pull on. There's the recession thread. Like, okay, so I think you actually kind of just illustrated that this is what's next is at best non-growth, at worst a recession. But then also I want to talk about, because like what's going on on the other side of this content sphere is Balaji's insane prediction that Bitcoin is going to hit $1 million inside of 90 days because...
Oh, hell no, dude. But hey, shout out to your boy. That was a good move for that guy marketing wise. I don't even know who this guy was beforehand. So I mean, hey, I get it, bro. But 90 days, homie. Jesus Christ. You should have been in like plan B or some shit, like with the giving yourself a little rope there at least.
All of this money printing, all this QE is going into this world, and I'm wondering what's your take on that. And so we'll talk about the recession. We'll talk about how this relates to crypto assets and what we all need to do about it. But let's actually start with crypto assets because we have this bank term funding program. We have a bunch of new injection of liquidity and money into the economy. What does this do to crypto? And what does this do to just or risk assets in generally?
Pay attention to this because this is how the money he formed it very well. I've explained versions of this like pieced together, but he's going to do some masterwork right here on how the inflation game is going to obviously increase and sort of thing. Now notice this. Earlier this year they passed something where banks can hold 2% of their balance sheet in crypto. Interesting. So if all this money printing is happening and they have more deposits, they may start actually like 1 or 2% is not like that risky for a bank to hold. So they hold a little Bitcoin and Ethereum. A lot of that printed money starts entering into the crypto space. And remember what I've taught you guys. Crypto is the only place where trickle-down economics actually works, which is I know it's kind of crazy. Some people, some economists are like, oh, having heart attacks and shit. Me saying that, but it is because of Hart's law and the way a lot of LPs work and stuff with Ethereum and stuff. So and L1s with Phantom and stuff like that, or these L2s and stuff. So the main liquidity token, if it's got large amounts of liquidity paired to Ethereum and stuff, and Ethereum goes up significantly in price, it drags up those price of those tokens up, and then that springboards their LPs, which on their shit coins, which then go up tremendously as well, and then you end up having the whole sector just moving gloriously to the upside. Chef's kiss.
Speaking. Right. So let's separate risk assets. So I spoke about this at the end of my article. I think it's Perry. I forgot his name. This is professor, I think, Columbia. Inside money, outside money. Inside money is money where you're a liability on somebody else's balance sheet, right? Inside money is a U.S. dollar. Inside money is Japanese yen, euro, a yuan, whatever. Inside money is stocks. Inside money is bonds, right? These are all things that exist in the financial ecosystem. You can't utilize these things without interfacing with the fiat financial system and the people deputized to act in it. Then you have outside money. Outside money is not a liability on somebody else's balance sheet. That would be gold. That would be your real estate, your apartment, or your house. That would be Bitcoin, obviously. Outside money doesn't care what happens to the banking system. Banking system goes bust, outside money still works. You still can live in your house. You still can walk around with a bar of gold. You still can use the Bitcoin blockchain, regardless of whether or not JP Morgan or Citi or First National.
That's right,
or
motherfuckers.
SVB or any of these banks are in business. Right? And so there's risky assets in both of those buckets. But if we're talking about essentially this is the end game where the explicitly or implicitly, the major central banks are now in the business of cashing the checks of the government. That is, by definition, the road to hyperinflation. Doesn't mean you're going to get there, but you're putting in place the prerequisites to get there. Then do you want to own inside money? Because inside money is going to get deflated because there's going to be way more fiat money out there. You want to own outside money. You want gold. You want property. You want Bitcoin. You want vintage cars. Whatever it is, right? And so that is the setup, right? If we believe that the authorities are committed to saving the banking system, and saving the banking system essentially means guaranteeing that no bank can ever go bust, which means that banks that buy government debt can do it as much as they want, and we're going to give them par, whatever the value of the debt is. Par meaning 100% or face value of that debt. At a certain point, the money supply expands infinitely, and I don't want to have claims on this system. I don't want to be an outside money. I want Bitcoin, right? And that's where this trope of Bitcoin 1 million comes from. Now, while Balaji, I think, is doing a very great marketing campaign in this bet, and I don't know how much he's going to lose if he actually loses the bet. Probably nothing in the percentage of his net worth. Do I think Bitcoin's going to $1 million in 90 days? No, I do not. Do I think Bitcoin could go to $1 million in this cycle? Absolutely. In this cycle would be the next 2 to 3 years, for sure.
Yikes! Wait, what? Wait, I got to roll that back for a second, sir. Wait, hold on.
I don't know how much he's going to lose if he actually loses the bet. Probably nothing in the percentage of his net worth. Do I think Bitcoin's going to $1 million in 90 days? No, I do not. Do I think Bitcoin could go to $1 million in this cycle? Absolutely, in this cycle.
Sheesh! Woo! My homie's saying, damn, in this cycle we could get $1 million Bitcoin. Yo. I hope. Shit, man. I mean, last cycle, man, we were hoping, we were saying like, hey, hopefully we can get 100,000, and then if we're lucky, we get $250,000, right? But damn, I mean, shit, if we get $250,000 $400,000 BTC, close enough. That's awesome. Hey, though I do think it's a little early for $1 million now. The million would just be like, hey, I'll take it. There's Bitcoin I ain't selling.
It would be the next 2 to 3 years, for sure. And the reason why is, okay, yes, I know I and others say this is quantitative easing, this is money printing, this bank term funding program. But right now, all this is doing is guaranteeing the depositors get their money back. This isn't inflationary as long as depositors keep their money in the banking system. Because what's going to happen? If all I'm doing is taking my deposit from Silicon Valley Bank and putting it into JP Morgan, and Silicon Valley Bank, or whoever buys it, can't originate any new loans, JP Morgan's not going to originate any new loans. JP Morgan's just going to stuff it in interest interest on excess reserves at the Fed. They're not lending any of this money out. So there's not any credit creation happening. I'm just guaranteeing losses, right? So for the time being, this is all dead money. The banking system can't expand because it's underwater, because short-term rates are too high, right? But because I've put this facility in place, either the Fed starts cutting at the next meeting, I don't think they will, but they could, or a nasty recession forces them to cut anyways in the near future. That, I believe, is my mental model for what's going to happen. Once those rates start dropping, you have all this dry powder that's here, and then people are like, yes, okay, banking system sound, yield curve is steep again or not inverted. Game fucking on. I'm buying everything under the fucking sun. And banks start lending, people start buying shit, and that's when you get the massive inflationary impulse. And that's when you start seeing the real gains in Bitcoin. So while we've had this move from 15,000 to close to 30,000, 100% off the lows, I think that's just telling us the direction of travel. I think that the path to get there is going to be quite rocky. Because let's say that the Fed comes out tomorrow and they say, or by the time this airs, and it's 25 or 50 basis points hike, right? And essentially they're going to melt down the rest of the U.S. banking system by doing that over time. Then you could see a risk-off scenario and Bitcoin could get impacted and give up some of these gains. You could see Bitcoin going from 28 down to 25,000, right? And not going to this $1 million that everybody's talking about. So the path is uncertain. We know the result.
Now, but a lot of times the reason they say these big numbers is because people think it can go that high, and then you know, like aim for the stars and land on the moon, right? They're all aiming for the stars. You're selling the moon. So, you know, if they're saying like it's going to hit 1 million, bros, you know, maybe we get to 250,000 and then that's where it tops out. I mean, look what we were in the previous cycle. $3,000 Bitcoin low, $69,000 top. Not bad. It's going to be less gains than that, but still 69. So maybe the bottom was 15,500. Maybe we go to 180. Not bad.
Is the Fed either hikes and crashes the banking system or cuts, saves the banking system. Either way, they're going to be cutting it eventually. And the money that they've created in this facility has created an infinite guarantee, which I think they'll expand it even further as they see more and more of these small banks, you know, and one tangent, the faster the American political system is, even these flyover small bumblefuck states have 2 senators. Right, so they still have power, and if mom and pop,
even these bumblefuck states have 2 senators,
is banging on those senators' door, like, why the fuck are you letting my bank fail? And these motherfuckers in New York are paying bonuses at J.P. Morgan. Guess what's happening? There's going to be a nationwide guarantee on all bank deposits. It's just politically, it's in a post-agrarian economy where you still have a lot of power in these smaller states. That aren't really connected to New York and Silicon Valley, there's going to be political pressure to extend this guarantee to everyone. It's just
so we're going to have a guaranteed FDIC. No matter, everyone's bank deposits are going to be like, I think uninsured bank deposits right now, I think it's like what, $1 or $2 trillion tops. So all this is going to be insured. So at that point, that'll stabilize it. This should have been done a long time ago. If I'm being, I always thought it was really weird that these bank deposits weren't insured, but I guess it's just the sort of thing where like if you do insure them and stuff, then banks get into some fuck shit. And this is what I'm talking about. This is why we can get these crazy. This is the wealth transfer right here. The rugging of the old system into the new system. Stay in stocks, go broke. Go in crypto, get rich.
Take a banking crisis and some more banks to fail for them to get there, but they'll get there eventually. But it's setting the seeds for when things really take off, they're going to take off even bigger than before because the pile of money and the guarantees that have been put in place are essentially guaranteeing an infinite amount of money printing. As much debt as the government can print, can issue, the banks are there to buy it because the banks don't have any risk anymore. That's the point I'm making. But we're not there yet. And so, yes, okay, Balaji's making this bet. I don't think it's going to happen. My mental model is it's probably, we're probably, you know, we'll chop here. Maybe we get to 30,000 and, you know, don't break through, whatever. I still see some medium-term choppiness before we...
And lies. I think we go above 30. I think we go 30. 34,000 is kind of the minimum I see for the summer and stuff for this year to 44K. That's kind of the range there. And then we'll get a nice 40% drop on BTC. So we're probably going to, like, if we hit $44,000 in Bitcoin, we're going to drop. And that's all based off of what, ladies and gentlemen? The Fed pausing rates. Oh, boy. When will you learn? Right? Like, when are you going to take the clue? Bow, 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 bow. When are you going to look at the... I mean, think about it. When the Fed... all this shit happened, they still increased rates 25 basis points. I think they're going to do 50, and they're like, all right, we got to still increase something. So that means we probably still have 50 to 75 basis points of increases left. So we got 2 to 3 more raises. That means sometime in the middle of the summer, we're going to keep going up. They pause the rates. Equities take a shit. Crypto takes a shit. But we would have hit somewhere in the mid 30s to 40s. And then we'll dump down back to 20K BTC. Great time to buy. Join the next Crypto Mindset course. We're going to be babysitting everybody through that and buying the lows like we did last time. So, damn, I'm good at this shit. I'm telling you, I ain't trying to pat myself on the back, man, but goddamn, bro. Sheesh.
Really get lift off. We really need the Fed to really break the banking system. Now, maybe they're going to back away from the precipice and not hike. I don't know.
I think I'm still missing a link here between how there's enough total money creation to send Bitcoin even to $1 million inside of 2 years. The numbers that you put in your article is that the bullishness, if you will, because of money issuance is bullish for risk assets. You're saying that the
I'm pausing this right here just because of a comment right here, but this is a very important thing I need to say right now. Miguel, are we in a bull market? Once you've gotten the low in the market, technically in a bull market the way me and Charlie interpret it, because there's a lot of money to be made because you're buying coins right now. Like our students are up 2 times to 5 times on their capital right now. Right? Most other people, they're up fucking 20, 30%. Oh my God, because they barely got the crust out of their eyes. Oh, let me just get in. And those guys are still early. We're earlier because we never left, right? So we're already in the bull market. It's all subjective, right? But the bull market technically doesn't start by the definition of most, like these TradFi, like DeFi guys or whatever. Until we pass like $50,000, maybe six, and the all-time high is either $64,000 or $69,000 Bitcoin. That's when, like, okay, I guess now we're in a bull market, and like the real number I would imagine would probably be $81,000 Bitcoin. Then they'll give up, because like last time we kept hitting 20, we were at 21K, but no one's like, oh, I don't know, it's gonna go back down. And once we passed $28,000 Bitcoin, holy you guys. We're in a bull market. Oh my God. Altcoin season, baby. And everyone's throwing money like every buffoon. Everybody knew it was a bull market at that point, right? But the buffoons don't know if it's a bull market yet. Good. That's good for us.
The bank term funding program is implicitly printing $4.4 trillion. And that is just what I'm understanding to be the delta between the actual value of these underwater treasuries and what they will be valued at their full term loans. Is that that delta?
No, so I'm basically saying the amount of U.S. treasuries and mortgage-backed securities held on U.S. banking system balance sheets in aggregate is $4.4 trillion. And that's been guaranteed. Right, so if you want to go and tender those to the Fed, you can get $4.4 trillion. Now, it's up to you or your depositor what you do with that money, but essentially the entire deposit base, $4.4 trillion can be exchanged for cash using these securities. That is quantitative easing by definition.
Right.
What you do with that cash determines how financial markets deal with it. Right? And so then the next question is, okay, $4.4 trillion is about $300 billion more than what happened during COVID in terms of the rise in the Fed balance sheet. That still doesn't get us to $1 million, even if we extrapolate on a one-for-one basis. How do we get to $1 million Bitcoin?
So he just basically said, like, with all this stuff that's going down, that's not enough money to really pump Bitcoin to $1 million, right? Now he's really going to go into, like, where does the money come from, right? Here it comes.
Well, the next situation is, okay, well, a lot of small banks, and the ones that are really getting punished right now are the ones that didn't lend to the government. These are the banks that lent to the multifamily, like the condo builders. These are the banks that lent to the person building an office building. These are the banks that lent to mall operators. These are the banks that lent to small mom and pop businesses. They originated all these loans. These are not eligible at the Fed. This is predominantly what their loan book is handled. But everyone says small bank bad, big bank good. I want my money back, right? And they go, fuck, well, we can't give this bond to the Fed because they're not accepting it. So we've got to sell it. Who's buying it? Nobody, right? No one's buying these bonds. These markets dead, right? BlackRock has I forgot the name of the real estate fund. They've gated withdrawals. This market's fucked. Nobody's getting out, right? And so this is why the stress is it's going to be on any bank that the majority of their loan book is non-U.S. treasuries and mortgage-backed securities, because those are not guaranteed right now. And that's where the pressure is going to come. And so once we see one of those banks fail, and I haven't done the analysis, or I don't know the names of the banks that are more heavily in that bucket, but if you're looking at banks and you want to say, okay, this is the bank that I think it might be a good short, those are the banks. The loan book is predominantly non-treasuries, non-mortgage-backed securities, because those are not guaranteed. So when the deposit leaves, that bank goes bust until the government comes in and says, actually, every single loan originated on a bank balance sheet regulated by the FDIC, or whoever the regulator is now guaranteed. So what is that? In the U.S., it's about like 18 trillion of deposits. In essence, the entire banking system, right? That's where they have to go to, because the market's going to say, okay, well, cool, you got.
So basically, what he's saying right here is that we've just seen the first part of the banking collapse, right? We've seen just people basically running away. Look, so what caused all this? The Federal Reserve increasing interest rates, right? They've had to, like, they should have been raising them since the fucking middle of the 20 teens, right? But they're doing it now, right? And basically, this is causing some really crazy knock-on effects. I mean, if they had just lazily raised it, like, imagine, right? They started increasing it 50 basis points since 2016. till now, we wouldn't have this problem. Imagine they just did like somewhere in March we do 25 basis point increase. Who cares? October 25 basis points. Who cares? Next year 20. You just did that a little, boom, boom, boom every year for the next 4, 5, 6 years. I mean, like literally think about it. I mean, like 2016 plus that, you'd almost be at the same rates you're at now, but it would have been a much more gentle ride. It wouldn't have just shook the fucking markets like it is. And now Jerome Powell's had to do this because of, like, I understand. I'm giving him I'm credit here. They had to do this. He wasn't in charge of the Fed at the time, right? It was under a lady. Why Women Deserve Less. Authored by Myron Gaines and edited by my boy Aaron Clary. I'm not saying that the woman dropped the ball who was running the Fed at the time. I ain't going to say her name. Ben Bernanke didn't drop the ball, but I'm saying there should have been some small raises. They tried. I remember this. They did try, and the market got spooked. But they should have, even if it was 10%, even if it was 10 basis points increases, they should have been inching slightly along after all this time. They could, by 2016 to 2023, they'd be at 3.5%, 4% right now, maybe barely 3%. But from 0 to 4, this is why all this shit's happening right now. This is why women deserve less. All right. I have that book signed by the author. I'm gonna get Cappy to sign it too. But actually, I'm gonna have Cappy on pretty soon too as well, man. I love that motherfucker. But so basically, this is what's going on. So they've increased these rates so much that we've just seen the first part of it. Remember, the first 75 basis increase happened 8 months ago. It usually takes 6 to 8 months for interest rate increases to affect the market. There's a long tail to it. So all these market rate increases that they did are barely starting to have an effect now. This is not even talking about real estate. Real estate's starting to crash now. I mean, I was telling people already about that shit already and stuff, but I was like, man, the rent's too damn high. So there's that right there. And we're still getting more. We're still getting another 2 to 3 more interest rate increases. Oof, right? Now, why women deserve less. But there's other knock-on effects that are going to start happening. So basically, what he's talking about here is like, we just saw the first part. People just getting scared. Now they're gonna bank all this other stuff. But there's tons of other banks that, because of these interest rate increases, their bonds, which aren't in different sectors, maybe just outright loans, actual mortgages and stuff like we might actually start seeing banks actually starting to fail because the interest rate keeps increasing, which lowers their bonds, and these bonds aren't accepted by the government. There's gonna have to be some bank bailouts. We're going to start seeing some fuck shit happening, you guys.
Treasuries, we're not fucking with you. You've got loans to commercial real estate, malls, businesses. Yeah, we're fucking with you, right? And so those are the people that are going to feel the pain. And I think eventually they're going to get bailed out too. Because, again, they're the ones that power economic growth. They're in states that have 2 senators, and they can apply political pressure to get what they want. And so I think that's the method of travel. So
now, let me say this, because there was a lady in the chat, right? Base lady. The exception doesn't make the rule. You're an outlier. Stand up. Applaud yourself. But if there's an 80-20 rule, but there's outliers. There is outliers. Everyone in here is an outlier. 300 of you guys watching in the middle of the night. Though we do have some people from Europe because I'm worldwide out here. But think about it. 300 of you guys are champions are watching this right now, and you guys are outliers. I mean, even in the crypto space, this is some outlier shit you guys are doing right now. I'm just telling you guys, the exception doesn't make the rule.
It's $18 trillion of implicit guarantee. Now, the real coup de grace for this program, and I think which is super elegant in what they did, is the real problem is not the immediate problem of the banking system. The real problem is after the debt ceiling gets raised, July, August, September, whenever it is, the U.S. government is fighting wars all over the world, and not just, fuck 'em up, shoot 'em up wars. It's war on climate change, all these esoteric, non-defined concepts that we're fighting a war on, right? And so these are expensive because you're spending a lot of money. You have the Inflation Reduction Act or whatever bullshit name they came out with. And they're just handing out money to preferred industries to do stuff, right? It's expensive. And it's not as if tax receipts are growing, they're actually falling. And so there's going to be deficits that need to be funded in the single-digit trillions, and it's going to keep growing year after year after year. Who's going to buy these bonds? Like the U.S. banking system post-COVID could be counted on to buy government bonds because they had a great spread on them. And the Fed said inflation is transitory, there's no more inflation, it's dead, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to worry about interest rate risk. The bank said, okay, if my regulators tell me you don't have to worry about interest rates, I'm not worried about interest rates, I'm trying to get paid here. And so they piled in. But you've just taken that away. They just blew up because the Fed blew them up by raising interest rates so high on their U.S. government securities. So how do we get the banking system back in the business of buying the debt that we have to issue? Well, we guarantee that if they ever get into problems, we just give them back dollars that we printed. And from a technical standpoint, the Federal Reserve, from an optics perspective, is not cashing the checks of the government, which in classical economists says, hyperinflation, we need to sell bonds. It's the banking system buying the bonds of the U.S. government because they're guaranteed to get money whenever they need it from the Fed. And if the Fed reduces interest rates to a low enough rate where the curve goes positive again, long-term rates greater than short-term rates, it's profitable for the banks to have deposit base, buy every single issuance that they can of U.S. government debt, and if they ever need to give their depositors back money, they give the debt to the Fed gives them dollars, right? And so we go this little merry-go-round, and the U.S. government gets to stuff bonds down the throats of the banks, and everybody's happy. And that's what I think the real end game is.
So you heard what he just said right there. So basically what's going on is they've essentially created, unintentionally or intentionally, depending on what you think, they've essentially created a really weird sort of like bond cycle now where like the once the bonds become profitable to really buy, the banks just start buying the fuck out of it, and then they start taking losses. Then from there, like once they started taking losses on these things, they sell them to the Fed. Then they go back into the market, and then their depositors are happy. So then things go on again. Money printing happens again, and then they go back in the market, start buying more U.S. bonds. So basically, this is what ends up happening. Basically, they just start making all the rub in between and stuff. So this increases the amount of money getting printed and stuff, and then the who's holding all the bags? I mean, the Fed's just holding it on their balance sheet, basically. Damn. And that's where the money's going to start coming from. Billions and trillions of dollars entering every time this happens. Oh, long-term rates are really positive. Brrr. Oh, they're not positive anymore. Shit. Let's just sell this bullshit back to the Fed. We got capital again. Cool. We start buying, and then we just start buying bonds, or they start investing around and stuff, and then they do it all over again. It's just a cycle. It's going to start accordioning and stuff, except the accordion's getting larger and larger and larger. And if you're not in the capital class, you are just getting, I feel bad for anyone who just doesn't have assets. Doesn't matter if you own stocks or bonds or whatever the hell, but just having some assets, crypto assets are far better, far better and stuff, because of the limited supply on a lot of them and some of this tokenomics.
And that's how you get to Bitcoin 1 million, because that is yield curve control. That is the central bank cashing the checks to the government. A few steps removed, but it's the same fucking thing. And that's where I think this program is beautiful in terms of how beautifully sinister, but beautiful in in some respect, and how it accomplishes this goal. People aren't going to think about it until it exists. And obviously they have this, it's going to end next year. There's no way it can end next year. Why would I hold a banking stock if I know that they've got all this debt that they can't tender to the Fed? They have the same problem. The problem hasn't gone away. So are we going to crash the banking system again March next year? Are we just going to keep doing this again and again and again? No, they're going to extend it. And once they've given it infinite extension, then the bank says, okay, cool, regulators said I can use this program. Oh, government's selling a bunch of 30-year debt. Doesn't matter what the fucking interest rate is. It's positive spread. I get to make money on my deposit. I'm there. Taking all that shit. Oh, I need my customer wants to take out the money and, I don't know, go buy something. Cool. Fed, here are these bonds. Give me back 100%. I'm still making money. Great. So that's the $1 million Bitcoin. But that doesn't happen immediately. It's a path there. And I think it's not entirely straightforward, but that's where I see it going. And I think Bitcoin eventually will discount that future. It's not going to happen before June to help Balaji out. But I think as we start seeing the slow motion evolution of everybody getting a bailout, the guarantee expanding as more holes are poked in. Well, why did he get a bailout and I didn't get a bailout? Right? That's the question. It's the unevenness of the response. Some people are getting, a good response, and some people are getting a bad response, and it's only to do with what they hold on their balance sheet, and there's nothing else to it than that. And so I think as we move down this path, that's how we get to $1 million Bitcoin. But it's not an immediate thing. It's going to happen.
So basically, kind of the gist of that. So basically, they're only accepting U.S. debt, really, in terms of bonds and stuff, what's called wow, I'm spacing on the name. My God, mortgage-backed securities, right? What's going to happen is that as some of these banks start failing, the Fed is going to have to, because there's no buyers, because you have all this flood of these bonds. Holy crap, no one wants to buy it. There's not enough demand to buy all these bonds. If they start dumping these bonds, who's going to buy it? The Fed's going to have to start buying these things up and stuff. And then it just keeps going and going and going. And this is how you get to $1 million Bitcoin right here. Like that right there is the crux of what's really going on right now and stuff like that. And, he's going to talk a little bit right now about who takes the loss. It's you guys. It's the person holding the one working for the dollar, the one on a minimum wage and shit, the one working on a salary and stuff. That's who takes it and stuff. Every time they print money, there's an invisible hand stealing from you. The reason we are taxed, right? I understand taxation from the state level, because they can't print money, right? But the Fed does not need to tax you, because the Fed can print money. The reason they tax you is because they printed all this money. They've essentially kind of double spend, so they try to stop the double spend from happening. So they take the money away from you, one, to dispower you, and two, because they've spent the money ahead of you already.
And over time.
Right. Okay. So implicit in your model of the future is just an increasing scope of the bank term funding program. So the bank term funding program is constrained in the assets that are eligible to access the facility, and it's also constrained in scope in that it expires, according to the Fed, inside of 1 year. And what you're saying is that both of these variables are going to expand just because of the political interests, the political forces that will inevitably be placed on the Fed.
And the market forces. The Fed just bailed out two banks, the depositors of these banks. And if we take the media narrative at face value, it is the most toxic sector of the banking system. One bank lent to the crypto bros, the other bank lent to the tech bros. I couldn't think of two worst constituents in American politics right now. Right? So,
one bank led to the crypto bros, one bank led to the tech bros. Damn, that was such a fucking line right there. One bank led to the crypto bros, another one to the tech bros. I couldn't think of two worst people to represent ever. And they gave those assholes bailouts. What do you think they'll do for everybody else? These are politically the worst people to give bailouts to, and they give them bailouts. So that means literally Main Street, every other bank, real estate, farming, everything else is going to get a bailout because the worst sectors in their eyes just got bailouts. I'm gonna hear this gold again. That was so dope.
Be placed on the Fed.
And the market forces. The Fed just bailed out two banks. The depositors of these banks. And if we, take the media narrative at face value, it is the most toxic sector of the banking system. One bank lent to the crypto bros, the other bank lent to the tech bros. I couldn't think of two worst constituents in American politics right now that people want to bash on. Right? So
we're starting from a real good place.
The management got bounced and equity holders got a donut. Okay, but the depositors got their money back. So expand that, right? Why, if they're willing to do it for them, why aren't they willing to do it for XYZ bank in bumblefuck flyover country America who lends to farmers? And we all know the farmers have a lot of power because of how the system, the political
damn right,
system
they have a lot of power
between Senate, House, and the executive branch. And so I think the politics is going to dictate that you can't bail out the banks on the coast and not bail out the banks in the heartland, right? And it's just this state versus federal, continuing, clash, if you want to call it that exists in all countries with a similar sort of political setup. Because how do you politically allocate the loss? That's the question. The politicians had to tell us, okay, well, there's a loss. We know there's a loss.
So what he's talking about right here is how are you going to spin it? It's like, okay, we have to print money, but how do we spin? Like notice, right? They bailed out the banks. So the whole all the stuff going on with COVID and stuff, they had to print money and stuff. But how, fuck, what do we do? So I'm not saying it was fake, you guys, but they basically said we have to print money because of this medical emergency, this global pandemic. We have to print money because of this. Well, because of that, not so great, right? So the thing is, no. We weren't bailing out the whole financial and banking industry. We were bailing out America, and we were bailing out everything because the medical system, it needs capital and stuff like that. So the whole thing is they need to find a way to spin it because they can't bail out the banks twice, because then if that happens, if they bail them out twice, the party's over for the bankers. It's like shit. So they're trying everything they can to make sure that it's like they distract you guys and spin it some ways where like no, we're printing because of this. Even when the banks wouldn't lend to each other overnight. Remember that when I was saying that there was this thing that happened right before COVID. Right before COVID happened, that the banks stopped lending to each other, and then the Federal Reserve is like, no, we're going to extend credit out for the overnight repo market. No, we're not bailing out the thing. This is the overnight repo market. Oh, what does that mean? Well, basically, your bank can be insolvent for the whole week, right? Let's just say you're down a few $1 billion. You can borrow $1 billion over the weekend. And basically, on Friday, you close in profit. So basically, like, I'll lend you a few billion, so your bank is worth $1 that you can keep operating, and then you give me my money back plus interest, and then you continue to work with each other. That's basically what the overnight repo market is. It's interbank lending over the weekend, basically. So basically what happened is the whole system frees up because like banks were like, yo, I don't know which of you fuckers is like actually insolvent now. I might, and then basically the Fed forced people to grab money. They ended up forcing like JP Morgan and the rest of these banks to grab loans even if they didn't need it. So everyone else didn't look bad for grabbing it, because once they actually implemented the system, no bank wanted to touch it. Because no, I'm not touching it, because basically the first one who would grab the money would be like, oh, this is the insolvent bank. So the Fed basically said, hey, member banks grab, or like everyone's gonna have to grab money now. And okay, and they all grabbed money, and that basically collateralized the system. And then something else happened later on, and then that's why they ended up having. So that was a temporary band-aid, and then the whole COVID thing happened. But then all that money printing that happened was basically a bail. They used the COVID thing as follow the money, you guys. The money is like 90% of the time, right? Most humans around the world, it's either about status, women, or money, right? Those are the three things. Half of the time, it's money, then status, then women. But when you're looking in a big macro sense, geopolitically, it's always about the money. It's always about the bread. Because if you got the bread, you got the status, and you got the power, you got the military, you got the bitches, right? That's what's really about. So when you follow the money in the macro sense, you figure out what should happen. I knew it was always about the money. They basically need an excuse to print a ton of money and recapitalize the systems. And now like that's falling apart. That's what's happening.
The banking system. Who takes the loss? Is it the small bank over here? Is it the large bank? Is it the central bank? Is it the federal government? Is it the state government? That's up to the politician to decide. And if you're not able to clearly allocate losses in an objective manner, then you just get to bail out everybody. And so that's where I think we're going to go to, because there is no reason why I should bail out a treasury bond, but not the bond for the commercial real estate project. Why that one, not this one?
Right.
So Arthur, who loses here? Because you're painting a very, I think, rosy, optimistic picture. Oddly, because like eventually you're saying that everyone's getting all their money. Banks are going to be able to take free risk. Bitcoin's going to $1 million in 2 to 3 years. Who takes the L?
The L is anyone who holds, dollars, right, inside of the system.
Sure.
Right? So if Bitcoin's $1 million and oil is $500, right? Or if Bitcoin's $1 million and it costs.
Peep that shit right there. If Bitcoin's $1 million, it's $500 a barrel of gasoline. Yo, there's some stuff. Yo, I'm gonna say it on record right here. Saudi Arabia is doing a lot of weird moves, man. A lot of countries are signing deals with Saudi Arabia and being able to buy oil in their own currency. The BRICS are doing a lot of moves. I think the United States is probably going to light a fire in the Middle East at some point. I'm not saying right now, but within maybe 5-10 years, the United States is probably going to just pull out the military, block off the Strait of Hormuz, and just let these fuckers kill themselves. Maybe the United States goes. I mean, look. At one point, when we went into Afghanistan, right? The Afghanis were our allies. Then later on, they became our enemies, right? I wouldn't be surprised the United States says, "Okay, Iran, what's up? Let's make a deal." New deals are signed. Like less crazier things have happened in this world. I mean, that's horrible. I hope it doesn't happen. But like, the United States ain't gonna let this whole global dollar, thing go away and shit like that. They're like, all they have to do is light the Middle East on fire, and then crown whoever wins afterwards. Basically, it's pretty fucking dark, you guys. Like, this is really dark. But I just see this happening. I felt really, look, if I'm being honest, man, this whole Dubai stuff has been like really weird to me. Like, I understand it's a beautiful city. They're building all this stuff, but it feels like a honeypot. Too good to be true, right? Am I true? This is coming from a crypto bro, man. Like, bro, I see magic happen. 10,000x, baby. But like, yo, this Dubai stuff has been a little too, like, I feel what's going to happen. Mark my words. If this comes to pass, this is going to be the biggest stealing of money that's ever happened ever in a global scale. Watch what's going to happen. Watch. There's a lot of people just abandoning the United States and their citizenship, moving to Dubai or the Middle East, setting up their bank accounts, no taxes, because they make all their money off oil. They don't need to tax anybody. They're just trying to make sure that there's a strong economy in these city states. Then from there, you have people from the UK, Russia. I mean, basically the whole world. A lot of people are going to Dubai. All this money's coming down, and all these money's going to those bank accounts. They're not U.S. citizens anymore. They're abandoning their citizenships in a lot of these countries just to move there because no more taxes. And there's like models and people flying around, and there's fucking supercars everywhere. And then the country gets attacked and demolished, or the whole city gets bombed. The money gets stolen. Who are you going to cry to? Gets moved off to bank accounts all over the world and stuff like that, and it's going to be probably one of the largest stealing of money that's ever fucking happened. I literally have been thinking about this quite a lot, and it seems to me like I feel like that's the honeypot. It's really fucking sad. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope all this shit just works out. It's like, oh, they're just sharing the love now a little bit. Okay, cool. But knowing how this world works, man, like, that's what I'm seeing. Like, let's fuck them up. We'll steal all these people, these dumb fucks who abandon us money. Ha ha ha. Burn the city to the ground. Crown the new people out. Oil is going to spike to crazy levels for everyone else. The United States has their own oil. Essentially, nothing's going to change here in the States. We're probably going to get a 30 to 40% increase in oil. We'll bring fracking back up. We took out our main competitors. Everyone around the world's like fucking scared. They don't have enough oil supplies. China collapses. Russia's pretty much, whatever. I mean, Russia's, I think, is going to be okay because they have their own oil. But geopolitically, just one little chess move. Okay, we just knock Saudi Arabia or I hope not. But that's what my gut's fucking telling me is happening right now, because I'm seeing, like, it's just simple. Just click. They don't even have a military. They have a private police force, basically, and they have mercenaries because they're so afraid that shit's going to go down. And you have one of the largest ground militaries right next door, or not next door, but close by, as an enemy. You just take the U.S. military out of there and stuff, and it's a powder keg. Great Gains, bro, why do you even speak something like this into existence? Because it's on the path already. I feel it. I'm just telling you guys. You heard it here first. So, hit a Pepe for that, man. That was a Pepe moment. I think that's a perfect place to end it right there, man. I mean, let me tell you this right now. I just wanted to say that right now because I think I'm probably one of the only persons in the whole world that's ever even said that or said it publicly out here. But I've been feeling that's been a honeypot for a long time. I mean, I got Puerto Rico fucking honeypot stuff too, but less hot compared to like the stuff going on over there. I mean, you want to know what? Like, you want to know something that happened over this past months? Like, Credit Suisse, right? One of the big Swiss banking partners, fucking just went under and stuff, and they forcefully bought another Swiss bank bought it and stuff with the government having a gun to the head of the other bank to buy it because the appetite for a bailout wasn't there for the Swiss people, right? It was bought at a loss and stuff, but they bought it basically I think for like $3 billion or something like that, and it was bought, right? Well, do you know what happened under Trump? Trump essentially rugged the Swiss banking system by basically saying, "Hey, you guys, we just forced the Swiss banks to release the charges. We know exactly everyone who has a Swiss bank account to escape taxation. Okay, here's what we're gonna do: you repatriate your money. You're only gonna pay 10% of the money. So a shit ton of money left." I think that's one of the reasons why the banking sector in the Switzerland was so weak, because you had basically just a ton of money. I'll have to look at the money. It probably was $1 trillion plus of money left Switzerland into there. And because everyone could see whose bank accounts there, nobody's doing illicit activities or trying to hide from taxes went to there. So it actually this actually weakened, because if the United States didn't do that under Trump, then I think Switzerland would have been in a very strong dollar sense because it's always a very strong sector and stuff like that. So it's like we're like now. One way that they may the Swiss may recapitalize themselves, they may, because it's no longer that money, they may move money to Swiss accounts with all the dollars they steal from these banks. Basically, the city's getting destroyed because the cities get destroyed, but the money's digital. The money's all digital. Remember that. Most money's digital, so it's just beep boop, and it's over there now. And they run away with it and stuff, and that'll recapitalize the Swiss. So Swiss is going to be fine, but I think they're going to do a lot of money laundering, just like they did for the fucking the Nazis. Sheesh, a little too base, man. I'm just seeing too many dots, man. I'm just saying, man. I'm just seeing how the money moves. But hey, but I got one thing to tell you guys, man. Share the screen. April 21st, man. Crypto Mindset goes live, baby. Goes live, man. Leave your email address right here, man, and then you'll be able to get into the course right away the minute it drops. It's only going to be on sale for 5 days. There's going to be a massive course. We're going to take care of you guys. We're going to be buying all the coins out in pump yet. We're going to be doing webinars on Pulse Chain, PulseX, everything, yield farming, all types of stuff, and then all kinds of flash webinars and everything else in there. As soon as this thing launches, we're going to be doing all this private content and stuff. I'll be off of YouTube. If Pulse Chain launches, I'll be taking care of my guys in the Citadel and inside of the Crypto Mindset course Q2, man. I'm telling you guys. We got a lot of stuff coming up and stuff. I'm going to do an airdrop video in my next video and stuff, but sign up today, man. You can take it down now. But sign up today, you guys. Like, I'm telling you, man, like, join the Citadel, join the Crypto Mindset course, man. Trust me, we're updating a lot of stuff. I'm going to teach you guys about a lot of new L1s, where I'm yield farming, what I'm doing, where I think potential airdrops are going to happen and stuff, with basically free money for using things. And damn, man, we're going to be doing pretty well, man. I'm telling you, man. Like, we've been calling this shit correctly this whole time, man. We bought the lows. We're going to get a nice pump in this year. It's going to come down. We're going to buy that low there and ride this off and as far until the wheels fall off, man. So with that, thank you so much for joining me, man. Get some freaking sleep. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and man, see you on Thursday.